Okay, so for everyone here, this is Board of Municipal and Zoning Appeals. It is December 15th, 2020. Yep, 2020. So I'm going to go over some tips and tricks with WebEx. So you will see anybody logged in. Oh, hi, Sabrina. That you can raise your virtual hand if you want to testify in support or opposition. You can also use the chat feature to send me a message so I'll know that you want to testify. You'll be unmuted, and if you have a camera, your camera turned on when your case is called or when you notify me that you want to testify in a case. If you have any issues with WebEx, you can call our office at 410-396-4301. Again, that's 410-396-4301, and someone's there who can answer your questions. I believe that's everything. Oh, and if you're not talking, to please mute yourself. All right, and I will hand it over to the chair.
Very well, thank you.
Oh, sorry, one more thing, I forgot. If you are having any technical difficulties and then disagree with the board's decision, you have 10 days to submit a motion for reconsideration that the board will automatically take up and consider any additional things you would have said had you not had technical difficulties. Sorry, now you can go ahead.
Okay. As per our usual course of dealing, the board will vote at the end of each at the end of the docket. Vote on each case. You can stay online, I guess, to hear that deliberation. Otherwise, you can call the BMZA office tomorrow morning after 9 a.m. The number is 410-396-4301. Again, 410-396-4301. In any event, you should receive your resolution in the mail within 30 days. We ask that you not do any work until your resolution is received. Of course, don't do any work in Baltimore City without pulling the proper permits. There is one postponement on the docket. I don't know if you mentioned this, Lee, but for the record, case number 2020-50, 2020-50, 200 North Monroe Street. The appellant's Daniel Bissey. The purpose of the appeal was to use the ground floor as a grocery store. That matter has been postponed. If you're dialing in or logging in for that matter, that'll be set for another time. We will then go to, or we'll start off with the cases for which the board has determined that it has sufficient information to approve the appeal. I will call those matters. I'll identify them, and then we'll call each case. Case number 2020-184, 204 East Barney Street. The appellant's David Leedy to construct a two-story rear addition with rooftop deck. That's on the consent docket. Case number 2020-187, 1627 South Charles Street. The appellant's Bill West. That's also to construct a second floor rear addition with rooftop deck. Another consent case is 2020-200, 6305 Western Run Drive, Herbert Burgunder to construct a one-story side addition. And the final case on the consent docket is 2020-209, 1117 Hobart Street, Ashley Kukic, to construct a two-story rear addition with rooftop deck. All those matters are on the consent docket. We'll start with case number 2020-184, 204 East Barney Street, David Leedy.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir. This is a request to construct a two-story rear addition with rooftop deck. I'll hear from staff and the planning for any report.
Nothing from staff.
Martin French for the Planning Department. Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Mr. Leedy, is there anything you'd like to add to your application at this time?
I think the plans I submitted speak for themselves, but thank you for your consideration.
Very well. Well, the board, having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Next case up is case number 2020-187, 1627 South Charles Street, Bill West. Construct a second floor rear addition with rooftop deck. Do we have any staff and or planning reports?
Nothing from staff, and I'm looking for the applicant now.
Mhm.
He might be a call-in user. Hold on.
Sure.
All right, so call-in users, oh, sorry, I didn't say this at the top. So if you're calling in, obviously you can't use the raise hand function. So after each case, we go through each of the call-in users. So if you want to testify on whatever case we're on, that's when you would say so. I'm going to go through and unmute one at a time. You'll know you're unmuted because you'll hear 2 beeps. Currently, we're on 2020-187, 1627 South Charles Street. So I'm specifically looking for Bill West.
Here, applicant.
Hello?
Bill West here, applicant.
Ah, hello.
Great.
Hello.
Afternoon,
Good
Mr. West.
afternoon. Hi, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. So we've heard from staff. Staff has no report. Anything from planning on 1627 South Charles?
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Mr. French. Mr. West, is there anything you'd like to add to your application at this time, sir?
No, sir, it just mirrors most of the neighborhood and the one we just did in 1539 South Charles. Thank you.
Very well. The board having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Be safe.
Great, you too,
Thank you.
sir. Next case on the consent docket, case 2020-200, 6305 Western Run Drive. Mr. Herbert Burgunder to construct a 1-story side addition. Do we have any staff or planning report?
Sorry, nothing from staff.
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Very good.
And here is Mr. Burgunder.
Good afternoon, Mr. Burgunder.
Good afternoon.
Sir, is there anything you'd like to add to your application at this time?
Nothing further.
Very well. The board having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you so much. Okay, the final case on the consent docket is case number 2020-209, 1117 Hobart Street, Ashley Kukich. This is a request to construct a 2-story rear addition with rooftop deck. And do we have any staff or planning reports?
Nothing from staff.
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm finding her. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, there we are.
Hi, thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Is there anything you'd like to add to your application at this time?
No, thank you.
All right. Well, the board having heard your appeal, we believe we have sufficient information to approve your appeal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
That'll conclude the consent docket. I will turn our attention to the regular docket and start with case number 2019-384.
Sure.
507 Edmondson Avenue.
Okay.
Gregory Bennett. This is a request to use the property as 2 dwelling units. I ask for staff and/or planning reports.
Nothing from staff.
Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that this property is shown in the city records as a single-family dwelling, which is also backed up by data in the state assessment and taxation record, which shows the property as having 1 full bathroom only and a half bath. The department notes that in this residence district, the conversion of a property from a single-family dwelling to a multifamily dwelling is not authorized by the zoning code. Therefore, the department recommends disapproval of the application because the board is not authorized to approve conversion of a single-family dwelling to a multifamily dwelling in the R6 zoning district where the property is located. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Mr. Bennett, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like? I'd like you to tell us about the project, bearing in mind what we've just heard from planning regarding the apparent attempted conversion of this property from a single-family dwelling to a multifamily dwelling in that zoning district.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Fields. I am one of the co-owners of the property, and I'm here with Mr.
Hold
Bennett.
on. Let's state your name if you would.
Sure, my name is Tarsha Philibert.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your last name, ma'am.
Phillibert. I've put it in the chat box as well. My first name is Tarsha.
Yep, I see it. Go ahead.
May I continue? Are you able to hear me?
Sorry, I can hear you. I think the chair was muted.
I
Sorry.
was muted, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. So I'd like to provide a little bit of background on the purchase of the property and the condition of the property at the time that we purchased the property. We purchased the property in December of 2018 from a pastor who owned a church 2 doors down from the property. At the time that we visited the property, it was at that time a 2-dwelling unit. He walked us through the property and confirmed at that time that it was a legal 2-unit dwelling.
How did he confirm that to you?
It was verbal. It was not, he did not provide us with any documentation in support of that statement at the time that we were in negotiations for purchasing the property.
Okay.
That was in or around October of 2018. As I stated, we purchased the property in December of 2018. We did have a standard inspection on the property, and now looking back, it's my understanding that zoning is not a part of that inspection, but I did not know that at the time. And so I did rely on the verbal statement by the pastor that owned the property that it was a legal 2-family dwelling at the time. There were 2 individuals that were living in both units at the time. There were leases that were presented demonstrating that the individuals had entered into a lease agreement. We agreed to continue to allow those individuals to reside in the dwelling, and we purchased the property at the time. Approximately 1 year later, we received a violation notice, and it was at that time that we were informed for the first time that, in fact, the property is not, in fact, allowed to be a multifamily dwelling, and it can only be a single-family dwelling. Not understanding the zoning laws and not kind of understanding what the requirements are. At that time, I started to do research, contacted the inspector to try to better understand, what my options were at that point, given that the property as we purchased it was already a 2-family dwelling, and it would be extremely both onerous financially on me to convert it back to a 1-unit, but also because we had 2 families living in the dwelling, to evict both families to do that also seemed burdensome and onerous on them as well. And so at that time, again, I didn't understand Baltimore zoning, and I didn't understand that it was not a permissible 2-family dwelling. I contacted the inspector, and then COVID happened. And so there were many kind of meetings with the inspector, cancellations with the inspector, trying to understand what my options were at that point. And the violation, we attempted to have that violation reversed, but they would not do so. And so here we are with the appeal. I understand that now, after kind of watching this, that documentation could have been provided in support of this position, including the lease, the statement, the HUD or settlement statement showing that we purchased the property, pictures showing that the property has been a two-dwelling unit. Again, and I think those were all the supporting documentation that I would have provided had I known that I could kind of provide evidence and support our position. And I guess the request is, given the circumstances, that we be permitted to maintain it as it is, because there are individuals living in the property. It would require evicting those individuals, and then again, it would be a huge financial hardship to try to now convert that back to a one-family dwelling. And I think most importantly, for community purposes, evicting individuals out of their home who frankly weren't even aware that they too were living in a dwelling that should not have been a two-family, relying on the individual that formerly owned the property and their assertions to them that it was permissible.
Well, I certainly understand the circumstance and predicament you find yourself in. To my understanding, however, the language of the code and the restrictions of the code in the zoning district in which this property exists, as Mr. French mentioned in his statement, I believe precludes the board from approving something that the code does not allow. Ms. Nadeau, I'll ask you to weigh in. Am I missing anything with regard to, again, the requirements of the code or the limitations on the code with regard to the discretion of the board to basically kind of equitable finding here? It's not unlike anything we've seen this situation before. Unfortunately, folks who are interested in selling properties do so to their benefit and say what they say, assuming he knew that it was properly being used as a multi-family dwelling. But Ms. Nadeau, I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I agree with that assessment that it does look like it's a conversion. I will say, if the applicant believes that they could produce the types of evidence that she listed, the applicant could request and the board could consider a postponement. But based on what we have, yes, it does look like a conversion because we have no evidence that it wasn't single family.
So if I may, I am happy to provide that documentation. I do have all of it, and I could forward it right away. And if requesting a postponement would give the board the opportunity to review that documentation and consider under equitable circumstances that even with the zoning as it is in this circumstance, that might be an appropriate finding, I would appreciate that request.
So what would happen is it would get postponed probably to one of the January or February dates, and then it would get reset for a hearing. But yes, you would have time to submit all that documentation so it could get to the board for their review.
Okay, I would appreciate that if possible.
You're muted.
Do you know if the property has more than one electric meter?
I don't believe that it has more than one electric meter. No, we are currently, we as the landlord, as the owner of the property, are currently paying the electricity.
Okay.
Ma'am, does each unit have a bathroom?
Yes, it does. Each unit has a bathroom. There's separate entrances, separate kitchens. They do operate as two fully separate units.
Mr. Chair, did Martin French note that there was only one bathroom?
That's what he stated, at least what the records indicate.
Clarification, what I was quoting was the record shown on the State Department of Assessment and Taxation record. which shows one full bath, one half bath. And the bathroom in the first floor unit is in fact a shower, not a bathtub unit, full bath. Secondly, the person that this particular applicant bought this place from held it for 1 year. He was not a longtime owner. So whether the conversion happened during his control of the property or previous to that, I'm not able to opine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. I have no objection to the request for postponement. Any word from the board?
No
No
objection.
objection.
No objection.
No objection.
Very well, ma'am. We'll put this back on the docket as Mr. Dew indicated at an appropriate time. And in the meantime, we'll look forward to receipt of the additional documentation that you referenced.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Fields.
You'll hear from our office sometime this week about when the postponed date will be, because you'll have to change your sign, so don't throw your sign out.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Moving on in the docket, case number 2020-150, 23 Pierside Drive, number 117. Whitney Agishel. This is a request to construct a one-story sunroom. And I'll hear from staff in their planning.
Nothing from staff.
Planning Department has no objection to this application, notes that this property or this particular unit is above the flood stage level, so there is no issue concerning the critical area which the property is located in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French.
Sorry, I'm looking for the applicant. I believe she's a call-in user because I don't see her hand raised. So I'm going to go through the call-in users. If you are Ms. Gishel, then go ahead and say so. You're going to hear 2 beeps, which will indicate you are unmuted. All right, it looks like this is not here, so we can mark it as a failure to appear, and you can circle back to it at the end if you'd like. Oh,
Yeah.
hold on. Someone just sent me a message in the chat. My apologies. Ms. Anagnost, you say you're the homeowner?
Yes, I'm the homeowner, and Stephen Conrad is on the call representing patio enclosures.
Okay. I will unmute him. Give me 1 second. Stephen Conrad, you said?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Ms. Anagnost, I guess we'll hear from you then.
What details would you like?
Tell us about the project. What are you intending to do?
So I have a ground floor condo that faces Key Highway, and I would like to enclose that into a sunroom. I've been at this property for 15 years, and I talked to the property manager about doing it when I first moved in, but then when the recession hit, I delayed it. But now I'm committed to Baltimore, so I just want the extra space. Stephen and I have worked together on this with the condo board, the homeowners association, insurance, and the legal team. Everybody's approved it. The property managers approved it. The fire marshal was here. I crossed all my T's and dotted my I's before we even submitted the application.
Okay, very well.
I'll just add that it is non-combustible construction per guidance of the fire marshal. It's all glass and metal and a tile floor. And it's about 8 by 8 is the size of it.
That's correct. I don't know if you can hear me, but it's on the existing patio, so it doesn't protrude in any way.
Okay. All right. They're given planning's comments and comments of the applicant. Are there any questions from the board?
None.
None from me.
No questions.
Okay. I think we understand the project and wish you luck with it.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited.
Very well. Thank you for your presentation. All right, we'll take that up at the end of the docket, and that concludes case number 150. Moving on to next matter, case number 2020-165, 2001 Boone Street, Benjamin Jonas. A request to use the premises as a rooming house with 8 rooming units. I'll hear from staff and planning.
So we have a letter in opposition. Okay. It states the Greater Greenmount Community Association represents 2 communities, Barclay and East Baltimore Midway. As a community association representing East Baltimore Midway, our land use committee received the attached petition signed by neighbors and has voted to oppose the request by Benjamin Zonas on behalf of Benzinger Financial Group. The GGCA Board of Directors strongly recommends disapproval of this application as the appellant has not contacted the community association to provide notification about their plans, does not align with our community's goals of increasing opportunities for home ownership, and does not meet other requirements of this zoning district for this type of use. Furthermore, the total number of rooms intended for this purpose is excessive for the lot size, type of house, and block this property is located. That was signed by the president of this association. And then the petition has 3, 4, 5, 6. About 31 signatures. And that's it from staff.
Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that the applicant is restricted by the code to obtaining approval for up to 10 rooming units on this property. His original application suggested up to 12 rooms for rent. The code will limit that to 10. The application may be for as few as 8 rooms. The thing that the Planning Department notes with concern is that rooming houses require 375 square feet of lot area per rooming unit. Therefore, for 8 rooming units, 3,000 square feet of lot area is required. This lot only encloses 1,860 square feet and so falls far short of that requirement. The amount of lot area variance required for approval of this application would be 50% for 10 units or 38% for 8 units, which the department considers excessive. In addition, there are parking spaces required at the rate of 1 space for every 2 units. There is only 1 parking space that can be provided on site, and the applicant has not provided any information about where any additional off-street parking would be located. In addition, the Community Planning and Revitalization Division notes that converting this property from a single-family dwelling to a rooming house is incompatible with community goals of increasing opportunities for home ownership. For all of these reasons, the department recommends disapproval of the application, and specifically because the amount and proportion of lot area variance needed for approval is excessive in relation to the amount required by the zoning code. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French.
Okay. I have found someone here in opposition, but I am still looking for the applicant. I'm going to assume that he's called in, so I'm going to go through the call-in users. Again, call-in users, you know the drill. You're going to hear 2 beeps, which means you're unmuted. If you are here for this case, then please speak after you hear those 2 beeps. Okay, well, that's all the call-in users. Oh, sorry, hold on. I think I found him. Hello?
Hello? Yes.
Is this Benjamin Zonas?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Zonas, if you can hear us, I'd like to hear your presentation regarding this project. Were you able to hear the commentary from Mr. French of the planning department?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
What is that? We get like up to 10 rooms we can do, or we just don't hear very good, but I hear you.
well, his comments addressed, yes, the number of rooms, the space that's required for the number of rooms that you're asking for. It's a very large variance that's being requested, and planning has recommended its approval.
Okay, and how many rooms we can put it? What options we have? I just bought it, that place. I just don't know anything. I never met any community. I didn't know they have any community around, or homeowner association or something.
Okay, well, I tell you what, why don't you, it's your application states you'd like 8 room,
Yes.
and I believe, based on what Mr. French stated, that the request can have as few as 8 rooms. I don't think he can, for a rooming house, it's less than that. We want to hear from you as to why you want it, why you need it, why we should grant the variance.
Because they already was like this huge house. They already had this a lot of rooms and everything. We just wanted to renovate and often bring the big family. We had one family with the kids and everything. And we actually, the rooms, we put it, my drawing person who drew it, he put it, there's too much rooms, like, but there was like these rooms in this house already. We just renovated. And we said after we will rent it to them because we are like friends for the big family. They have kids and they wanted to be in the city and they like this place. And we said, okay, we'll fix it up and you can stay. And that's why, they want everyone like more, like separate bathrooms but they need only one kitchen. They don't need anything because they're only one big, huge family.
Well, if
And
it's a
that's
big
why,
family, is there a necessity that you convert it to a rooming house? Or why not keep it the way it is?
if it's case something they move out or something else, we can do after for rooming house. If in case something, we don't know how it's going. And that's why we said, maybe 8 rooms in case something after happened, because this is huge house. There was a lot of rooms.
Well, we understand how huge it is. It's 1,800 square feet, according to the application and planning's review. That is woefully short of what is needed under the code without a very large variance, which is what we're dealing with. I think I understand your request. Anything else you'd like to tell us before we go on to hear the opposition?
What we do, we're trying to help actually the city to build out, like to get more better, like communities and everything. We buy like couple houses. We like the city. And that's why we actually try like communities to bring like good houses and I have a remodeling company. That's why also we actually try to fix it and get like bad neighborhoods, like to get good houses and get communities better around. And that's my main point, not just like resell. We just wanted to rent it, someone living or something. We're not selling this house. We wanted to get the people live and bring better communities around.
What is your plan for, or how would you respond to the concerns about parking?
About the parking, they have on the side, the next to the side, they have empty grass. We actually trying to find out 203 Bond Street. They have an opening like grass. they can be like, or we will buy this property and they actually land. They don't have any property, it's just the land. We wanted to get that place and put it the parking space.
Have
It's
you
a
talked with them?
203 Bond Street, 2003 Bond Street.
So is
It's
this
for
property-
sale and we wanted to buy.
Okay, have you made any headway or reached any agreement regarding purchasing that space for use to utilize it as parking? Or is it
Yeah,
just a
we're
desire?
doing, we're trying, because this is a city place. Actually, this is a city lined. This is a city. I don't know, the city demo is the house or something. The next one, the 2003 Bond Street. We're trying to get from the city that place. That is the next one.
Mr. Zonas,
Yes.
how many units or how many houses do you own in the immediate area?
How many houses we did in this area?
Yeah.
Or on the city? We have like a couple different places. We're trying to, where is a bad neighborhoods, we go inside and we fix a demo, everything up to frame, and then we putting
How many,
like
how many,
rentals.
sir?
How many?
Yes.
On this, exactly in this street, in this area, maybe we have only one, but we have in Washington Boulevard, we have in Washington Street, we have in, what is it? Yeah, West Baltimore, we have a lot of places where we usually check out where is a more bad neighborhood, because we like city, we wanted to build the city better, like for communities. That's what is that. This place was very bad all around. The next house across the street is very bad and everything. That's why we bought it, and we had the big family. They said we wanted to move in. We said, wow, that's perfect. And then we said, wow, in case something they move out, we need to be backup, something we can, what we do with these rooms, because a single family, they will not come up. You know, we need to again find some big family who wanted the big, the rooms and everything.
Well, that's the concern, sir, because, we got to recognize what you could use, how you could utilize it and benefit a big family. But in the circumstance where it's not a big family and you have multiple folks who want to use a room, we have the parking issue that we just discussed. And
we wanted to get these 2 or 3. Yeah, and what we can do actually with this house then? What is my options?
I don't think it's the board's place to advise him.
No,
it's not. And so I'm not going to do that, sir. I mean, it's your application. What I need to know and what the board needs to know is what your intention is with regard to.
Yeah, my intention to get 2003 Bond Street, that land to buy, that will be for parking space. This is the city. And we already spoke with Eric Lee to get this place. They will take time. And the city said we could actually get it that. We just, however, zoning need to be approved. And we may get it that place. And that's the next one to this building. And that's the perfect for the parking space for this building.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, that next lot is a little over 14 feet wide. It could provide one parking space towards the requirement if it was consolidated with this particular property, or one additional parking space.
Very well. Thank you,
Martin,
Mr. French.
what was the parking requirement?
For?
Parking requirement is one space for every 2 rooms.
Okay.
And Mr. French, am I correct that in order to have a rooming house, it can't be fewer than 8 rooms?
That I don't know. I don't know that the code has a minimum number of rooms for a rooming house. I think it's also important for the applicant to understand the property is last authorized for use as a single-family dwelling. If he was to propose to convert this building to apartments as a multifamily dwelling, he would have to go get an ordinance for that purpose. So the rooming house takes conditional approval from the board, but a residential conversion to multifamily would require an ordinance of the mayor and city council.
To answer your question, Mr. Chair, I think A rooming house, I think, has to have 3 or more rooming units.
Mhm.
And I think it has to have I think it's 3 to 10.
Okay.
If I'm reading the code correctly.
Let's go on to hear
Opposition.
opposition. Whoever else wants to speak?
Mr. Jadalang, you are unmuted.
Hi, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Melvin Jadalang. I'm actually a resident on the adjacent block at the 500 block of East 21st Street. As the letter from our community association mentioned, I'm actually calling on behalf of myself and just sharing some of the background that I understand. In our neighborhood, East Baltimore Midway, the 500 and 700 blocks, which this property sits between on Boone Street, is primarily homeowners, homeowner occupied dwellings, and there are rental units, and those are single family homes that are rented to families or to 1 or 2 other roommates, but they are not rooming houses. We've had some challenges in the past on these 2 blocks, particularly with unpermitted or illegal rooming type houses. And the subject property, 2001 Boone Street, was actually occupied by a family. It was never, to my knowledge, in the 2 years I've been here, used as a rooming house. There is a lot of development going on, and the concern that we have is in front of that property, all of the back angle parking is occupied by the families and residents who live in the area. The property adjacent to the property, 2003 Boone Street, is available for sale and is owned by the mayor and city council. However, vacant lots, or what they call side lots, cannot be used for parking lots. It must be used for green spaces. So what the applicant is trying to propose in terms of purchasing the lot for parking is not an option for the purpose of buying a side lot. And to the applicant, I just want to let you know, you can look up Greater Greenmount Community Association. The Land Use Committee does meet monthly and makes recommendations and works with any developer or homeowner who wants to see what they can do to help support the goals of the neighborhood. So again, I'm speaking as a neighbor, and that the community association does want to work with developers to make this work for them, but it doesn't work as this applicant is asking for. And so I ask the board to oppose this application. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Judline. Appreciate the information. Is there anyone else, Mr. New?
Let me see.
Just a quick question. Is it possible that the gentleman who just spoke could repeat the name of the community association? We would like to reach out to them to discuss what we could do in the neighborhood. We didn't want to make any issues. We're just trying to make sure that we get it resolved.
So
and
your
works for
name?
everyone.
Sir? Yeah, we need to hear your name before you speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm with Mr. Zonis. My name is Thomas McDuffie. We're in the room together.
Oh, it's
Mr.
a great.
McDuffie?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
It's Greenmount Community. It's the Greater Greenmount Community Association. If you go greatergreenmount.org, you will be able to find us. Even Councilman Stokes had tried to reach out to the applicant, but was unable to because we couldn't read the email address handwritten on the application.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll check it out.
All right. If there's no, that's it for opposition?
No. So if anybody else would like to testify in this case, please raise your virtual hand. In the meantime, I'm going to go through the call-in users one more time.
I have a question for the applicant when I can.
Go ahead.
Sir, I pulled up a copy of a Google Map image of 2001 Boone Street, and I know you said that you were looking into purchasing the lot next door for the purposes of parking. But in order to do that, you would have to, in order to make that lot into a parking lot, you would then have, you would then be limiting or really getting rid of street parking in order to do that, right?
No, we can get it from the back. We get it from the alley on the back. They have very full access. We don't need to do anything from the street.
So it would be from the alley.
Yeah, they have all opening. It's a big, like, it's like road in the back from the alley. And you drove inside. You don't need to do anything from the front. The parking space. That space will be on the back. on the
I
side.
believe planning said that you couldn't get permission for
It's a
parking.
lot, actually. It's a big size. I think there definitely can be more
Well,
parking space.
it may look to the naked eye like there's enough space for parking, Mr. Zonis, but I think, Mr. French, would you like to weigh in once more?
I think part of the problem may be there are actually 2 vacant lots next to this property. I believe
Yeah,
03 and 05
yeah,
may
we
be
wanted to
vacant.
get both.
And as I said, each one is approximately a little over 14 feet wide, which only yields 1 parking space on each of those lots, as off-street parking accessible from the rear by the alley behind the property.
Okay, for 8, what is it?
Martin, what was your comment about green space?
I think that was
That
Mr.
was
Chatelain.
Oh,
Wasn't mine.
so what I was, my understanding, and this is speaking with the, I work with Eric Lee as well because I'm the chairperson of the land use committee. When someone wants to purchase a vacant to value vacant land through the side lot program, which is what the applicant is trying to do, because this 2003 is adjacent to his property, those lots cannot be used for parking. They must be used for green space or a side yard. So again, in terms of trying to turn that into parking, it would not conform to the use of why the city would sell that property. And that is correct. 2005 is the side yard to the property adjacent to the 2007 property. So it does look like a 28-foot wide lot, but in actuality, all that is available for sale is 14 feet or half of what you see on the Google Street View.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chatelain, for that
Okay.
clarification. All right, so we're back to Mr. Zonis. Is there, I'll have the final word with you, sir. Anything we haven't heard before that you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Okay, very well. That'll conclude 2001 Boone Street, and we'll move on to the next matter on the docket. This is case number 2020-191, 5107 Old Hamilton Avenue. The appellant is AB Associates. You may hear from Al Berry, I believe. This is a request to construct 4 two-story detached multifamily dwellings with 10 dwelling units each. We'll hear from staff and planning.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, give me 1 minute. There's a couple people who want to testify, so.
Okay, sure.
All right, so I'm gonna kick everybody out. Okay, so 2020-191, there is nothing from staff.
Thank you.
Planning Department reviewed this application. Basically, the main thing that this comes down to is a question of, number one, is there sufficient lot area for the number of units proposed? The lot area is subject to a reduction because the applicant intends to dedicate a portion of this lot along Old Hamilton Avenue for the widening of that street. However, the zoning code has a provision that states that in the course of doing such a thing, the board should consider the size of the lot prior to the dedication of any portion of it to the city of Baltimore. The variance, therefore, in needed for approval is approximately 5% of the lot area requirement for 40 units. The other issue is required setbacks, and these may have shifted. There was a new site plan filed today by the engineer for the applicant, and Mr. Berry will probably discuss that further in terms of what effect that might have upon the yard setback requirements. The site plan, the earlier version of the site plan was presented to the Site Plan Review Committee on November 18th of this year, and approval is pending. Negotiation between the applicant and the Department of Transportation of the dedication. There may also be an urban design and architectural advisory panel review coming for the development buildings themselves. For these reasons, the Department of Planning recommends that approval of the application be subject to the condition that all improvements and landscaping are completed or installed in accordance with plans approved by the Department of Planning.
Thank you, Mr. French. Mr. Berry, how are you, sir?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Fields. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Direct the board's attention to the site plan, and you'll see from that that it's a very irregular shaped lot in and of itself. It's overgrown, it's been somewhat of a nuisance. And the developer has proposed to build 4 groups of 5 townhouse-looking units. Each townhouse would have 2 units in it, which comes to the 40 units. We've been in negotiations and discussions with the Sedonia Association and Frankfurt Association. They may be on the call as well. We understand I'd like to think that they support the plan. The changes that came about that Mr. French mentioned, both the dedication of some right-of-way for sidewalks as well as a larger forest conservation easement at one end, led to some minor shifting of the units. The plan, if you compared the original plan to this plan, the changes would be minimal, but it did require small variances, I think, for setbacks, front yard setbacks in one case. We're asking for a 5% variance, which is essentially 2 units. One reason for that was to try to create the symmetry between 4 similar groups of buildings. This lot has a frontage on Old Hamilton Avenue and Arizona Avenue. And so we're trying to replicate the townhouse style feel of the community, which is immediately around there. Also, some of the board may remember we had a similar proposal a few blocks away on Hamilton Avenue, where again, rather than build an apartment building, a freestanding apartment building, we felt having townhouses that face the streets would be preferable from an urban design planning standpoint. We think the site's unique enough and the site conditions from site plan review are enough that would justify the board granting a variance for this project, again, to keep the symmetry of the 4 groups of buildings. And we would recommend that the board would approve the application today. There's a Curtis Miles, who's a neighborhood resident who actually be the developer of this project. He's on the call with me, and I'm not sure which community members have also signed in. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Berry.
Oh, one other thing. We are meeting the parking requirements. We're also only providing a 22% lot coverage where the zoning code would allow a maximum of 40%. So that's a significant degree of open space compared to what the code would permit by right. And I'll be here if there are any other questions.
I have a question, Mr. Berry. Martin mentioned that new plans were submitted. Have you submitted those to our office?
The plans that were submitted to planning have to do with the forest conservation.
Okay.
I went over that with it doesn't affect the site plan. The plans that you have are essentially what followed the site plan review committee. but as Mr. French mentioned, there were some negotiations about the forest conservation easement. They really don't affect the application today.
Okay. And we have one, that was my only question for him, sorry, if anybody on the board has questions for. Okay. And we have some community member who would like to testify. Give me 1 second. Ms. Weiss, you are unmuted. Hello? Denise? Is it just me? Can anyone hear her?
No, it's not just. We'll just ask one more time.
It looks like
Denise
she
Weiss,
muted.
you appear to be on the line. Can you hear us? All right. Anyone else?
She said she's trying to unmute. She is currently unmuted, so. Here, her chat feature seems to work. Let me see if she was in opposition or support.
Okay.
So I can at least note that for the record. All right, we seem to be having a technical difficulty. She can't unmute.
Okay. Is she still able to chat with you, however?
She is, and she hasn't answered yet whether she's here in opposition or support. But she did say that she is having trouble unmuting. I have unmuted her, so.
Yeah.
Mr. Barry, do you know this community member?
What's the name?
Oh, she's in opposition. Sorry.
We've been dealing with a Wynette Downer, who's the president of Sidonia Association. We
Okay.
talked with her, and Mr. Miles, who's on the call, I believe, can elaborate on his discussions with her. And Barbara Jackson, who's president of Frankfurt Improvement Association as well.
Sorry, did you say 2020-191, the Sidonia Community Association?
Yes.
Okay. So I just received an email from that association. With the chair's permission, I will read it into the record.
Okay.
It says, "Good morning. Sidonia is anticipating 2 40-unit apartment complexes within 3 blocks of each other in 2021. We currently enjoy a good quality of life and are working to improve on this. We know that the certain traffic/parking increase will significantly impact our community. Additionally, the nuisances of approximately 120 people using our elementary and middle school will create pedestrian safety risks. We are requesting of Baltimore City a traffic impact study and recommendations for risk reduction. We are also asking for consideration of increased police presence should this project proceed to support safety for all residents. This submission is as a resident of Sidonia." But the email address is Sidonia Community Association.
Could I respond to that?
Please do, Mr. Barry. Yes.
Okay. As the board may know, the Baltimore City has a traffic impact requirement for projects over a certain size. I think it's over 10 units, so this would qualify for that. We applied to the Department of Transportation in November as part of the site plan review process, filled out the application, and we're still waiting for the Department of Transportation to respond. As we've told the Sidonia Association, we have no objection if the city requires one. It would be done by a third party and would look at whatever traffic impacts or mitigation would be required, and that would be completed independent of the zoning board's process. It would be part of the building permit process if the department does require one. The other project that was mentioned, we also went through that application process, and the city did not require such a study, but it may be, frankly, because of the two in relation to each other, that they could require it at this point. But it'll depend on the Department of Transportation, frankly. We have no objection to it.
Okay, thank you.
We have a couple raised hands. Okay, so first let's hear from Angela Downer. You are unmuted.
Good afternoon. I actually am a little bit challenged by this whole virtual thing. So basically, the statement you read, the email you just read, was written by myself. We just have concerns. They're not complaints. We would like to see that the density issue with population as well as transport, automobiles, the increase both in people and traffic in our community is addressed in the process of these two developments, but specifically to the development that we're discussing today. I've found we have had conversations with the developer and Mr. Barry, and I've found, just in my limited knowledge, that they've tried to be very thorough, especially the developer, in supporting the community in its efforts, but that is a big issue. We anticipate more children in this community, and we know that traffic is already a major issue on the Sidonia Avenue corridor, many accidents, and so we would definitely want our people in this community to be well served in any case, whatever it is that's being developed, and want the city to look at that very closely and provide us, as we asked, with provide them with recommendations as to how to manage that. And that's our primary issue at this time. If the project goes forth, that's what we want to be considered, the density and the traffic for safety.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mr. Field, sorry, you were unmuted. Any questions for Ms. Downer?
No.
Okay. Next, I'm unmuting Tawanda Daly. I saw your hand raised.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Tawanda Daly. I'm a resident of Arizona Avenue. I'm a homeowner of almost 20 years, and I'm totally against the project. I just feel like it's going to just have a major impact as far as like traffic. It's just going to take away from the suburban feel of living in the city. You know, I just feel like living here on this block for 20 years and raising 2 children and putting them through Baltimore City schools until they went off to college. And it's like now to make that big change, I just have concerns. I mean, I've never even saw the person who owns that lot. Most of the time it's the neighbors who get out and clean the lot, who I've myself had to stop people from dumping and, you know, from making that lot a dump. I've caught people trying to dump furniture. I'm just totally against it. I mean, I'm just totally against it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. What else?
And then one last time, I'll try unmuting Denise Weiss. Can you hear us? Okay, sounds like not yet. So we can go back to the applicant.
All right, back to you, Mr. Barry, for final
Yep.
word.
Okay, very, very briefly, sorry to hear about the complaint from the woman on Arizona Avenue. I mentioned earlier that the property is overgrown, has been somewhat of a nuisance. Obviously, this proposal would clean it up. Be glad to meet with her and talk further if we can get her information. These are market rate apartments. The area, if you look at a wider lens of the area, is a combination of semi-detached, single family, and mostly townhouses and apartments in the area. We agree that if the city wants to require a traffic study to look at things like pedestrian crosswalks, stop signs, particularly for the school children, that's something the Department of Transportation has a responsibility for, and we said it would support it. We think it's a unique property. We're trying to keep the symmetry of the townhouses so that the developer presents a face to the neighborhood similar to what's there. And we urge it's only a 5% variance on the density, 2 units that would be otherwise permitted by right. The variances for setbacks only come about because of the lot configuration now required by a site plan review committee and the forest conservation plan. And we urge the board to support the application today.
Hi, I'm really sorry, everybody. We have a call-in user to testify in opposition. You are unmuted.
Hi, this is Denise White. I couldn't get through earlier. Thank you for your patience.
Certainly.
I'm another resident who's been here more than 20 years and raised a child out of this home and dealt with a lot of that lot because I'm on the corner. And I just have a few different things to state on that. One is the signage that was put up in poor taste that I think more residents would have known about it or been able to call in. Where the sign is placed is where parked cars is and is down in the ground that you have to literally go over there and look at it to see what's the sign about. But if you don't live here, like on a corner house or next to me, you wouldn't be able to see the signage. So a lot of residents don't know what's going on. And the residents that know what's going on, we went through this a few years ago. And I have plans that show that there's a stream across the street. You can see the trees going down. It used to sit up, it goes down and down. There's a lot of water, mud, things of that nature across the street. So that was my concern, and building on that, hoping it would not affect us over here as far as any drainage issues, things of that nature because of the stream. I'm not sure. But I do have those plans to show that. And I am opposition of it because of the parking as well. Parking is horrible right now. So it's going to be even worse than putting in, 20 units? And they say 1 car per household, I was told. But we know that's not going to happen, and no one here to make sure that happens. So I am opposing this plan.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
That's the last call-in caller. We'll go back to Mr. Barry.
I'm going to go through the call-in users one more time because a couple new ones have signed in. Okay, sorry about that. That is everybody.
All right. Let me just ask Mr. Barry, do you have any commentary on the parking plans for the property?
Yeah, let me add 2 things to the last caller. She may have been at the meeting we had at the community association, And the issue of stormwater drainage and runoff came up at that meeting. Mr. Miles, the developer, again, lives in the neighborhood, offered to walk through and go to people's houses to see whether or not the existing problems they're having in their basements have anything to do with something other than this property. As the board knows, the city is going to require us to completely control all the stormwater runoff from the property into stormwater retention facilities. And so there'll be less runoff coming off that property today than what there is now, frankly, and it'll be more controlled. As to the parking, he has indicated to the association that there is a nearby lot that is also overgrown, and I can't say that where that stands. He was going to be on the call as to whether he could buy that could provide another some number of parking spaces. I think it's 10 or 15 additional, but I can't speak to the status of that unless he's on the call and can talk directly. His name is Curtis Miles, if you see him on the screen.
Let me see.
I just texted him and I thought he was going to be on because I talked to him an hour or so ago.
I see him. Hold on. Mr. Miles, you're unmuted.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, I'd just like to say a couple things. The lady that complained earlier, just want to go over something with her. We try as much as possible to control the dumping of unwanted materials on the lot, and I have cleaned it up constantly. And that's one of the reasons why I would like to get this project done. And also, I did acquire about the property where the vacant lot was, and no one has responded back. But we're at this particular time, and we're trying to do everything we can do to appease the neighborhood. I mean, I've done volunteer work. I have tried to help do all the things that I can do to help this neighborhood move forward. I think I've been in this neighborhood for 35 years, and 36 years. Of my 36 years, I have tried my efforts to provide the services that I can do for the neighborhood. You know, and during the winter storms and all, we take care of the street that I live in because the city doesn't take care of it. And if this lot became apartments, we would be more than happy to do everything we can do to support the neighborhood in any effort we can, including offering jobs. And that Miss Downer can can speak to that. And anything that I can do, that I will do. I don't know what else I can do other than ask the board to give this opportunity to us to build these apartments on here.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Leva, do we have an official stance from the two community associations?
I have no letters in the file from any of the community associations, no.
All right. Are we still searching for callers? Is that it?
Nope, that's everybody.
Okay. All right. I think we'll leave it there unless there are any additional questions from the board.
Oh, just a note that, like the prior case, if you're going to buy a lot to make it a parking lot, you need a city council ordinance. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Barry.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
All righty. That'll conclude matter 2020-191. Moving on to the next matter on the docket, 2020-192, 2930 Banker Street, Marjorie Lewis. This is a request to use the premises as 2 dwelling units and an office. Staff and planning.
Nothing from staff.
Thank you.
Planning department has no comment on this application at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. French.
Give me 1 second. Sorry. All right, Ms. Lewis, you are unmuted.
Okay, what would you like me to say?
Well, tell us about your project, ma'am.
Oh,
What are you intending to do?
yeah. So currently, this is a corner property that used to be 2 units and a commercial space. That commercial space was a beauty shop. We bought it about, I guess, a year and a half ago, perhaps, maybe almost 2 years already. And we learned the hard way that it gets converted to vacant. It gets converted to a single family when the property has been vacant for a really long time. And so we just want to revert it to what it was for many years prior to our acquisition. That's currently how it's set up. We built it out as the basement maybe being an office because we don't know what people would require, but that seems like the most, unintrusive possible use for it. But we would like to have the two apartments that are there to remain there.
These 2 dwelling units, are they separately metered?
Yes, there are 3 meters
3 meters.
in the building.
Are they currently occupied by tenants?
No. We need, we want to fix it up, and so we need permission to do that.
All right. If anybody on the line would like to testify in opposition or support, please raise your virtual hand. In the meantime, I'm going to go through the call-in users. If you are a call-in user who would like to testify on this case, please speak after you hear the 2 beeps. All right, I see no hands raised, and that was all the call-in users.
Great, thank you. Final words with you, Ms. Lewis. If there's anything you'd like to add, please do. Otherwise, we'll conclude it.
No, we're just anxious to get the project started. You know, we've learned a lot the hard way. We've presented ourselves here. I've presented myself here before, and just not knowing the rules. But right now, we just want to get clean housing in that space. That's all.
Very well. We thank you for your presentation and your time, and we'll take this up at the end of the doc.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Moving on to the next matter on the docket, case number 2020-199, 1401 Pole Street. Lara Faulkner, requested to use as 3 dwelling units. I'll hear from staff and planning.
Nothing from staff.
Okay, thank you.
Planning Department reviewed this application, noted that a lot area variance of approximately 30% would be required for approval of this proposed 3rd dwelling unit on this property. In addition, the property appears to be completely improved with at least 2 stories of structure, and therefore there is no space available on the lot itself to provide an off-street parking space for the additional unit proposed. The application does refer to another property, which the applicant stated is controlled by that applicant, but there is nothing submitted with the application in the way of a commercial lease for that property that would be to the benefit of the proposed 3rd unit's resident. And this is a serious matter because this property is located in Locust Point, where on-street parking is in very high demand. The department is recommending disapproval of the application because the lot area variance requested and the amount of lot area variance needed for approval is excessive in relation to the amount required by the zoning code. The department has no objection to continuation of use of the property as a multifamily dwelling containing 2 dwelling units. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Ms. Faulkner?
Hello, Director Fields. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, I am also joined by my husband, Frank Faulkner, as well.
Welcome. Tell us about your project with particular reference to the things that we heard from planning.
Yes, absolutely. First, we do have community approval. There was a letter that was forwarded from the Community Association, I believe to Ms. Nadeau from Kate Mikulski, the president of the Community Association. I do have a copy of that I can share. It was from the November meeting with their approval for adding a 3rd dwelling to the premises. We had received in 2009, July of 2006, approval to add a 3rd dwelling to this property. It has 2 dwellings currently. One is a 2-bedroom unit. The other is a 3-bedroom unit. And the area that we are requesting is unimproved. We'd like to convert that into a 1-bedroom unit. We are only looking to improve what is existing there. We are not doing any additions or adding any 3rd stories or anything to the property. I can screen share some photos that we have. We do have a lot. We've owned the building since 1992. And we have owned a lot directly across the street, 1366 Cooksey Street, since 1994. That provides us 3 parking spots for our dwelling there, for our tenants. So we do have parking provided, so there's no concern for that. When we were approved in 2006, we just received notice yesterday, actually, from planning about this, the variance that would be needed. I just received that around 4 o'clock yesterday. So we went back and looked at our documents for the zoning appeals, which at that time too did require a variance, and we were approved in 2006 because it was 13% approximately of a variance that was needed. And then we were also able to show them that we had the off-street parking at that time as well. Like I said, we're longtime owners of the building. We used to live there. We own 3 houses in Locust Point and a lot. We live in Locust Point. We have lived here since the 90s. Our son attends the public school here. We are also looking to improve this, as we call it, the carriage house portion of the residence, because it will also improve the quality of our existing apartments by having a building, a unit there that is occupied, heated, insulated. So those other units will see some improvement as well. Rental property is our livelihood, so it's part of our livelihood as well.
I'm gonna pause and do 2 things. First, if you did you want to share your screen to show the photos? Because I can.
Sure, I'd love to do that, and also to show, did you find the letter by chance?
Yep, that was gonna be my second thing. I'm sorry, I received it a few weeks ago and I must not have printed it, so I'm going to read it to the board now. Hold on, let me pull that. Okay, the letter is from the Locust Point Civic Association, and it states, this letter is to inform the BMZA that the LPCA voted in its November 11th, 2020 meeting to support the zoning appeal put forth by the owners of 1401 Hull Street. LPCA understands the owners wish to renovate the property by adding a 3rd unit which will contain 1 or 2 bedrooms and 1 and 1.5 bathroom. The owners intend to renovate the interior space only and will not add anything to the exterior of the home. In advance of this meeting, the LPCA wanted to reach out to you to express its support. So that's the support letter, and then you should have access now to share your screen.
Okay, so first I can share, I guess the photos would be, I'm sorry, let me figure this out here.
So first have what you want to be shown up on your screen. And then if you go back to WebEx and you do share.
I see. So
Yep.
pull up my photos first and then go to share. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so I've opened the picture and then I go to the share button.
Yep.
And would it be for, I see photos here, I believe. Okay. Okay. So is this sharing on your screens?
Yep, picture of a white car.
Correct. So you see a white car and a gray car there currently at this angle. I'm sorry, this is the Sally Port. This is the alley side of the unit here, this picture. This is the building itself. As you can see where our sign is posted, the white door next to the sign is the entrance to the proposed third unit. The door that you see is the first floor unit, and then the staircase that you see going up the side is the second floor unit. There is a side view which gives you a little bit better perspective of the building itself. This is Clement Street picture view. So again, it's this area here that we are looking from where this gutter is coming down over here to your left that we are looking to improve. It's roughly 790 square feet. It will be a 1-bedroom. We are not going to make it larger than a 1-bedroom. It just won't house. Here's from the alley. You can see there's a little Sally Port area here with access to the property next door. But we are improving from this area here forward. This is a pass through for the other property. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what those are. I'm trying to, one more photo, let me see. Parking lot. I'm trying to find a better one of the lot for you to see as well. You can see that there is, I'm sorry, let me see if it shows, here it is, the rear open area, and that would be for the third unit. Okay.
So just to clarify, so you said you own a lot across the street that could be used for parking. What's on that lot currently?
It's the parking that you just saw. It's those two, where you saw the 2 cars. It's always been parking for us. We've owned it since, it's tenant parking. It's tenant parking. We bought the property in 1992, and the lot is, the address of this lot, this is Cooksey Street here, which is right across the street. We had the opportunity to buy this lot in 1994. So we've owned 1366 Cooksey Street. Since 1994, I think it's 16.6 by 60 is the lot size.
65.
By 65, and we park 3 cars there for our tenants.
Martin, I don't have it in front of me. Do you know what that Cooksey Street lot is currently zoned as?
Ooh, no, I do not. There's a good chance it's zoned the same as this property, which is R8.
Okay.
I think the other issue is the same one we had to raise before, and that is whether the lot dimensions allow the parking of an additional car that meets the zoning code requirement that other vehicles not be moved out of the way in order to make access for the new parking space.
Right.
And I would think the applicant needs to address that question in terms of the dimensions of that property.
The lot is currently zoned R8.
Okay. And do you know the dimensions of it?
I believe it's 16.6 by 65. And we have fit 3 cars there in the past, no problems.
So the question is, so there's like spaces you can fit a car into, and then there's spaces that the code legally considers the appropriate amount of space, which is sometimes bigger than what you can squeeze a car into. That's the question.
So there is a building, I'll share one more photo, directly across from us, 1359 Hall Street, that has 3 dwelling units, and it has 1 parking space. Here's 1359 directly across the street from us, and they have a 1-car garage in the rear for 3 units. You can see it's, larger square footage size than ours as well. And it is, I believe, a larger lot size. So we provide 3 spaces. We have 3 units. These guys provide 1 space for 3 units. And this was actually renovated more recently, so I'm not sure what the lot requirement was for that, but.
Is your parking area paved?
It's gravel.
Gravel.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from the board?
I have a question. The space that you want to redo right now, you said it will make the quality of living better for the other 2 units because it'll be insulated and heated. What is it right now?
So, yeah, so here, I'll let my
If I
husband
may,
speak. Yes.
I'm Frank Faulkner. I'm Laura's husband. The space that we want to renovate is currently just storage, unheated space. And we would like to upgrade it and make it a living space. It also, just to mention that when we previously got the approval by zoning in 2006, I went ahead and put in a separate meter and panel for that space, and then we let the project just fall to the wayside. We weren't able to go ahead with the improvements just for financial reasons because of the recession. But now at this time, we would like to go ahead with that improvement.
And we are financially set to do that. We took care of those measures before we even put in an application to make sure that we had that lined up as well.
I'm not sure it's not necessarily going to affect this case, but as a note, the prior decision in 2006 would have been under the old code. So that is part of the reason you're filing again and why the board is reviewing it under slightly different provisions because the code changed in 2017.
I see.
Thank you.
All right, anything else from the board? Oh, hold on, let me make sure. If anybody wants to testify in support or opposition, raise your virtual hand. Otherwise, I'm going to go through the call-in users. All right. Does not appear anyone else wishes to testify on this matter.
Okay. Back to the applicant. Is there anything else you'd like to add to your application at this time?
Well, I think I can just speak to some of our commitment to Baltimore City, and also not just to the city, but to this community. Locust Point, like I said, we have owned several properties. We currently live on Woodall Street, and we have owned 4 properties within the neighborhood. We currently still own 3 plus that lot. And this is our stakehold. We want to improve this property because it's going to be our livelihood for us to help stay secure and okay in our old age, our retirement, so to say. And I have served on the Community Association Board. I have also served on 2 current MOUs. I was the lead of the task force of the PQ Corporation with Mark Saperstein. I was on the task force of the Woodall Street Stevenson Goodyear project. And we just love Locust Point, and that is why we want to improve this property to help the livelihood. Actually, I will say also our tenants have been very much in favor of seeing this improvement to the property as well, because of the fact that it would be an occupied heated unit. I think my husband mentioned we do have 3 electric meters. I know that's come up in some of the other meetings. And we're very attentive landlords since we live in the neighborhood. If our tenants call us, we are over there. If a neighbor calls us, we are over there. We have made sure the property is certified lead-free, registered, inspected. I brought it to the Community Association in November to kind of, see if there were any concerns from any of the community. It was a large meeting, and I will say Design Review, Will Jovel and Justin Grossman, who are the Design Review in our community, were the ones who actually brought the issue to the floor during that meeting for a unanimous support from the community for us to go ahead and improve this this carriage house unit that we've owned for so long. So thank you so much for your time and consideration. We'd love to have the ability to do this project.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, ma'am. Right. That'll conclude the whole street matter, and we'll move on to case number 2020-201.
Mr. Chair, can we take a brief, just a brief?
Absolutely. Let's do that. 5-10 minutes, however long you need.
Just 2 minutes, probably.
Very well.
Are we ready? Okay.
Let me call the next case, 2020-201, 2334 through 2342 Guilford Avenue, John Mariani. It's a request to construct a new 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th floor onto the existing structure and house 32 dwelling units with 1st floor commercial space. And I'll hear from staff and planning.
Okay, there's a lot of people who want to testify on this, so I'm going to make them all panelists, and then I'll read the letters.
Very well.
If you don't mind.
All right.
They're all muted for now because some are support and some are opposition.
Okay.
G3. Okay. So first I'll do the two letters in support. The first is from Bikemore, which writes, Bikemore writes in support of Appeal 2020-201. This adaptive reuse and expansion of an existing historic property will add much needed walkable retail and housing to the neighborhood. Located along Guilford Avenue Bike Boulevard and just blocks from the Maryland Avenue cycle track, this project will have direct connections to high quality, all ages bike infrastructure and further enhance the walkability and bikeability of the neighborhood and adjoining neighborhoods, places where many residents lack access to a car. The requested exceptions from the developer will allow the project to be financially viable and better fit with the design of the existing historic building, as will the choice to use the ground floor for retail instead of parking, adding critically needed mixed use in a neighborhood lacking them, and with existing low parking utilization due to the number of residents living without cars. The second letter in support says, my name is Randy Davis, and my wife and I have lived in the western edge of Barclay for over 13 years. I write to offer support for the planned development. We've seen more buildings demolished than rehabilitated, likening Barclay to somewhat of a suburb more than the density we feel is necessary to bolster the 12th district into a thriving urban nucleus. The design is good and leverages the existing structure, and the location benefits from Guilford Avenue bike infrastructure. Okay, so those are the support letters. And then next, there's a few letters in opposition. First, from the Greater Greenmount Community Association, which writes, when the owner and appellant presented their proposal, it was clear that the impact based on size and scope of the building was not considered for the community, and particularly the immediate areas surrounding the property. If granted the variances, this project will be larger than allowed, and the impacts of traffic and waste resulting from 32 market rate apartments and 2 commercial units with no parking or appropriate plans for proper loading and unloading of deliveries and waste disposal would cause a negative impact on the already high density blocks surrounding this property, as it is not compatible with the neighboring properties due to size, scale, and lack of plans to address impacts caused by the project. They also note that C1 standards are crafted to ensure compatibility between neighboring residential and commercial uses, maintain the proper scale of commercial use, and address unique issues related to smaller commercial sites. So that was the GGCA. Next is a letter in opposition from a member of the community who is a resident homeowner who lives approximately 50 feet away. He says if the zoning regulations regarding height and setback are kept in force, they would force a rethinking and redesign of the project, which would make it better for the neighborhood in multiple ways. And then he lists certain reasons he's in opposition, including there's no workable provision given for trash collection and pickup. The alleys currently leading to the south of the property where the trash room is located are impassable by sanitation vehicles. 2, because the lot has an extension to the south, if it were built to full height to the property line, it will cut off light and air to 2330 and 2332 Guilford Avenue. Their rear windows will look out on a 5-story wall rather than receiving light and air. Number 3, although not specifically required in the current zoning regulations for C1 properties, the issue of parking is of extremely serious concern. Please note the especially dense nature of this block due to 20 alley houses on Hunter. And then he ends, a sensitive, intelligent, and harmonious residential development at this parcel could in fact be done and be a significant benefit for the neighborhood. The currently proposed project, however, especially if the variances were granted, is not an benefit, but an ill-conceived, poorly designed, pedestrian, and slapdash attempt to intrude an inappropriate and oversized structure into a residential context. This is from another member of the community who states he lives directly across the street from the property. And he says, this is a quiet residential street in all 4 directions. This project at 5 stories and 62 feet would dwarf any and all homes nearby. The project would cast a huge direct shadow on my property. 32 units will generate a large amount of trash and likely contribute to rodent problems. There's also the question of traffic and parking. And then there appears to be no affordable housing present in the project. This is a family neighborhood, and this project, as envisioned, would change the character of the neighborhood greatly. I think allowing them to build the extra height and build to the property line in the back will make a project that would be overly large and out of scale. And even more so, all of the 20 plus neighbors I've spoken to on the block agree. Next up, these are residents of 2332 Guilford Avenue, the building that directly borders this property. They write, it should not have been zoned to build such a large property in the first place, as it's strongly against the character of a residential neighborhood. There's no parking for the additional 34 residents, and the ongoing traffic from commercial buildings would not be conducive to the residential character of the neighborhood. It would also exacerbate gentrification of the neighborhood that will displace many of the most vulnerable members of our community. Next is from the Charles Village Civic Association, who write that they are strongly opposed to the addition of 4 new floors onto the existing 1920s garage structure in order to house 32 dwelling units and use the first 2 floors for commercial spaces. The association writes, it does not fit C1 district standards to ensure compatibility between residential and commercial uses. The scale of the proposed 62-foot full footprint structure overwhelm nearby residential structures. Next, there is a petition with about 60 plus signatures that states the proposed building is wildly out of scale with the existing character and architecture of the area, which is composed entirely of 2- and 3-story Victorian-era row homes within the Old Goucher Federal Historic District. To be clear, we do not oppose developments on the site, but they must be respectful of the area and its residents, contribute positively to the neighborhood, and engage cooperatively with the neighborhood associations. Next is a homeowner and resident on the 2300 block who writes, the additional 2 stories will significantly and negatively impact the skyline of our neighborhood. We already experience a shortage of parking in our neighborhood, and our neighborhood, like much of Baltimore, is seeing gentrification in the form of racial and socioeconomic shifts in every newly house sale. An apartment building with exclusively market rate units will likely accelerate that trend beyond mitigation. This is another property owner who lives a block away who states, I'm concerned that there is no plan for parking or for trash pickup for the 32 units being proposed. We already have a rodent problem, and overflowing garbage will only exacerbate this situation. On a personal note, this plan would block all the light coming into our home, casting a shadow that would affect not just my household, but several houses on the block. The proposal is for luxury apartments without any promise of affordable housing. As such, this plan is not at all in line with the culture and character of our community. I'm not against responsible development with community input and participation. In fact, I support it, but that is not what we are seeing. Next up, this person lives also very close to the proposed development and writes, a 5-story, 32-unit building is architecturally and spatially not in keeping with its surroundings. It would shade and tower above the residential structures it flanks. He has made no attempt to engage the community prior to seeking these variances. 32 market rate apartment units at a proposed $2 to $3 a square foot does nothing to combat the real housing crisis in our city, but instead would contribute to gentrification and displacement. Next up are homeowners on the 2300 block of Guilford Avenue who write that they object to the proposed additions. They agree with their neighbors that this building would fundamentally alter the character of the block, dwarfing the surrounding 2- 3-story row homes, blocking natural light into several of them, and creating a strain on street parking availability. And then the last letter of opposition is a homeowner at 2433 who states a proposed building of this size is undoubtedly likely to impact traffic and parking. Residents are already squeezed with 25th Street residents and businesses using Guilford Avenue. Our streets already accommodate a disproportionate flow of people seeking services from the expanding numbers of treatment and rehabilitation centers in our area. Impact of potential quality of life issues for current residents should be considered and evaluated. Residents and taxpayers deserve some consideration regarding increased noise and other factors that would significantly change their quality of life. And those are all of the letters.
Very well. Mr. French?
Planning Department reviewed this application, noted this property is located in the C1 zoning district. That particular district includes an exemption from off-street parking requirements. The property was last used as a warehouse, which is a non-conforming use, and the proposed use would extinguish non-conforming use of the property. The lot area is sufficient for the number of dwelling units, 32, that is proposed. It encloses approximately 11,000 square feet. It needs only about 9,500 square feet in order to satisfy the zoning code requirement for lot area. The rear yard setback of 20 feet is required if the lot does not abut an alley. However, Hunter Street is the back street or alley behind this property, and therefore the property is eligible for a rear yard setback of 0 feet. The height proposed is 62 feet, according to the sketch provided with the application. The maximum building height allowed in this district for a multifamily structure or for a mixed-use structure with dwellings above the ground floor is 60 feet. And therefore, the board would be asked to approve a variance of 2 feet or approximately 3.3% of the height limit. The proposed redevelopment will require both site plan review, and as suggested in one of those comments, that would include a review of things like trash storage and design review. The applicant should contact the Land Use and Urban Design Division of the Department of Planning to begin the review procedures following approval of this application, if it is provided. The department recommends that approval of the application, if granted, be subject to construction of all improvements in accordance with site and architectural plans approved by the Department of Planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. So
I'm going to unmute John Mariani first, since he is the applicant.
Right. Mr. Mariani?
Yeah, hi, my name is John Mariani. I'm the architect on the project and the applicant. I guess the points I want to make, Mr. French's report pretty much covered everything I was going to say. And that is that just about everything we're proposing is as of right, from number of units to no setbacks to no parking on site. This is all as of right. The only thing we're asking for is 2 additional feet of height, and that's just because of construction and the amount of space structure takes. It seemed like 62 feet would help us get a better building. However, if we're denied this, it's not a big deal. Like, we could make it work with 60, but we thought we would ask for 2 more feet because we felt like it would be indiscernible from the street. 60 versus 62 feet would not look any different in terms of massing or frontage. But as I said, everything else is as of right, and thank you very much. I'll be here to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mariani.
Next.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, until we have some questions from the board, we'll just run through.
Keep going. Next, I'm going to unmute Joshua Sisk, because I believe you were in support.
Unmuted. Hello, this is Joshua Sisk.
Yep, you're unmuted.
So yeah, I'm not in support. I'm in opposition.
Oh,
I live directly across the street from the property. I agree with everything my neighbors had said. I think this property is going to change the character of our neighborhood. I believe that in a previous call, the architect agreed that this property would also directly cast a shadow on my property. And I've talked to another neighbor who did some numbers, and he thought that it would actually cast a shadow on several of the properties on my block, which is the north block. I think the variances of the 2 feet on top and the 25 feet from the alley should be denied, because I think they just continue to make the property bigger than it should be. And yeah, in general, I think it's going to really hurt our neighborhood.
Okay.
I will say, as we go into the opposition, I do want to zero in on a lot of what Martin said, that really this is not before the board for the use. It is for the 2 feet in height, and then there's a few feet in the interior side yard as well. So Just a note for opposition to focus on that. Next up, Stephen Mowbray wanted to testify.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, we divided a lot of the issues that the people are talking about, but I do believe this development project will absolutely help the neighborhood with retail storefronts that we're going to build on the first floor, and we're going to restore the integrity of the architecture of the existing garage, which was reportedly one of the local car dealerships' first locations. And I think it'll bring light and air and people to the corner that is currently very dark, and we're making a large improvement here of the structure that we'll be making with more life in the neighborhood, and I hope you all approve it for me.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So next up, I'm going to unmute Lindsay Falbo. You are unmuted.
Hi, thank you for having me. I would like to formally oppose granting this variance for the additional 2 feet and was the 25-foot setback for a number of reasons. Adding the 32 units without offering below or lot parking would make the parking situation, like a lot of my neighbors have indicated, almost like, going into Federal Hill, where you're just circling for hours. I do want to see development of this space. However, Mr. Mowbray, who is the owner of the building, who just spoke to us, only included the community at the last possible moment. I believe it was last week, and we were not really invited by him or by the architect to offer up suggested use of these spaces. It is my belief that Mr. Mowbray only seeks to have the extension of this variance to pad his own pockets and not to support our community. I would like to petition the zoning board to please not grant this variance so that the community may continue to work with Mr. Mowbray and his architectural firm to find a better use for this building that seeks to serve the community that currently exists and not to continue gentrifying a neighborhood that is already at risk for displacing members who have lived here for 20 to 30 years. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up, we will hear from Alex Hayworth.
I thank you to the board for allowing me to speak. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to echo the sentiments of some of my neighbors and in opposition to the variances. I just wanted to emphasize that it's somewhat the unique circumstances where we have the Greater Greenmount Community Association, the Old Goucher Community Association, the Charles Village Association, and I don't know whether Councilman Robert Stokes was able to submit a letter. He indicated in a call prior to this week that he also was in opposition to these variances. I'm not sure if you received that letter. But, I think in speaking to my neighbors on the block and adjacent blocks, there is general support for development of this property. And I also understand that the code changes that took place in 2017 allow for infill and adapted reuse. And I think the neighborhood would be happy to see that happen. But there is a certain amount of disregard that the owner and the developer have shown by not consulting with any of the relevant entities prior to seeking these variances. I think that could be an agreement reached, and I think by denying these variances, I think it would show deference to the will and the wishes of the community. And yes, that's generally what I wanted to add to the conversation.
Sir.
Okay. So next up, John trying to see who I haven't heard from. Lauren Beal.
Hi, everyone. I'm hoping my dog doesn't bark in the next 2 minutes because my neighbor is currently raking and she hates raking. So I apologize if that does happen. So I just wanted to formally put in my opposition to this variance. I think my neighbors have made it very clear. I live directly across the street at 2327 Guilford. And you know, by denying this variance, we'll be able to actually have a conversation about what would actually best suit the community and would actually be best for residents and for the developer. We are always open to inviting new people into our community, but the fact is that we have 4 days of street cleaning, which block off a whole side of the street a week in this community, which means we already have way too many people squeezed onto one street. One side of the street. And it is just untenable to have 32 more units parking on this street without any sort of thought towards that. I know that's been very well, noted that parking is bad here, but I don't think the street cleaning situation had been previously. And I just wanted to make it very clear that, like, it's clear to me that by the way that the developer is speaking now and has spoken previously, that they don't actually care about our community or our needs, and that they think what they think is best for us is not actually what's best for us, because all they want to do is make money off our community and get out. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, Lauren Principe. Sorry if I pronounced that.
Hello. That's fine, thank you.
Ms. Nadeau, will you remind everyone that we don't need repetitive testimony? So
we don't need anyone to echo sentiments that.
So if there's new information, the only reason I'm saying that is I'm concerned that we won't have enough time to hear all of the cases on the docket if we allow for repetitive testimony.
Agreed.
And for these speakers, also just bear in mind what is of significance and importance and relevance to the board, given what is allowable as of right and what the variance is requesting, and what the distinction between those two may be, and how that impacts you. That'd be helpful.
You may go ahead, Mr. Principe, if your testimony matches what the board members just requested.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll be very brief. You've read my letter. I would only mention, in addition, that this project is, the owner tells us that he does not have financing, that this is a matter of just selling the property that he has owned for some time. Beside that, I will just be quiet now, since I would only repeat what my neighbors have said.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
And then lastly, Melvin Jadouang.
Yes, I'm speaking both as a neighbor, but also wearing the hat of the land use committee chairperson for GGCA. And we just want to reemphasize the importance of community partnerships with developers, and that we do support developers, but not the request of the applicant for this particular application.
Okay, so if anybody else would like to testify, last chance to send me a message or raise your virtual hand. Teresa, I don't see a last name. Provide your last name for the record, and you are unmuted.
Teresa Murphy.
Go ahead.
One of the things, in addition to everything that's been said already, one of the things I'd like to add is that the city and the neighborhoods, the community associations have put a lot of money and a lot of time and effort into rebuilding this community and really emphasizing home ownership. This goes completely against home ownership. It would massively increase the number of people utilizing our services. And I think that we need to focus more on home ownership. I've noted that the owners have said that they would like the first floor to be retail. There is plenty of vacant retail in the area. Just drive down 25th Street. There's plenty of vacant places. So I don't really understand why they would think that, but I'll end my comments at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go through the call-in users. Oh, sorry, there's a few more hands raised. Okay, next is Brian Beverly.
Good afternoon, everyone. In addition to the parking concerns, I think it would also be good to get feedback from Ebenezer Baptist Church. They're right in that area. They also share these parking concerns. If you're talking about 32 units, you estimate 2 to 3 people per unit. That will have an impact on them in terms of whenever they begin in-person worship. So in addition, I am against this for the previously stated parking concerns, but also I think we need to get more impact, more community views, particularly from Ebenezer Baptist Church. Thank you.
Ms. Nadeau, have you seen anything submitted from Ebenezer Baptist Church?
I have not. Next up is Peter Duval. Mr. Duval, you are unmuted.
Yes, this is Peter Duval. I live about a half a block north of this building. I just wanted to point out that the building, even if it was built as a right, would be larger than all the surrounding properties. And the extra space really doesn't supply room for extra apartments or extra retail spaces, in that you could easily fit those 2 retail spaces and 32 apartments in the building built as of right. So I just think it's just really, the variances really don't do anything useful for the building except for basically make it larger and more out of scale. Thank you.
Okay, so I am not seeing any more raised hands. I will go through the call-in users. Again, call-in users, you'll hear 2 beeps, meaning you're unmuted. All right, that is everybody. I will unmute Mr. Mariani.
All right, Mr. Mariani, you have the final word here. Question to you is, we've heard about the height variance requested, 62 feet as opposed to 60 feet, and that developer is fine with and could be okay with no additional height. The other variances, are you able to do this project without the variances requested, frankly?
Yeah. Based on Mr. French's report, we do not need variances for anything else that I can think of. The rear yard setback is 0 because we abut a alley. And we talked about the height limit, the number of units, the fact there's no on-site parking. So I think we're within the regulations.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
None from me.
No questions.
Okay, give me a second to, well, for lack of a better term, demote everybody. All right, we're also gonna hit mute because I'm hearing some background noise. Oops. I almost kicked Martin out. Sorry, Martin.
I'll be all right, thank you.
All right, that is everybody. We can go to the next case. Oh, sorry, I muted you all. You're all unmuted now.
All right, call the next case on the docket, 2020-202, 1155 North Carey Street. The appellants are Charlie and Tanya Jordan. There's a request to use the first floor as a hair salon. And I'll hear from staff and planning.
Nothing from staff.
Okay.
Planning Department has reviewed this application and has no objection to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French.
Sorry, one moment.
Okay.
I really need 4 hands, guys. Let's see. Mr. Jordan, you are unmuted.
How you doing? This is Charlie Jordan. Can y'all hear me?
Sir, Mr. Jordan, go ahead, sir. Tell us about your project.
All right. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm trying to bring nice value to the neighborhood. I currently own a assisted living, so I'm trying to have like a senior day for Wednesday for the seniors and the kids when school start back, and get them half off and just trying to do something positive. So I have 1155 front and just trying to do something positive in the neighborhood, and I appreciate if y'all allow it.
Okay, sir. Do you plan to operate the hair salon 7 days a week, or what are your plans?
Yeah, 7 days a week.
And what do you propose your hours to be?
From maybe 7 in the morning till like 8 at night.
Okay. All right. Any additional questions from the board?
No. I mean, from my understanding, it was a salon before, and I had talked to someone before when I first got it, and they told me it was zoned for a salon, so that's what I did. Then when I called back, they told me that it wasn't, that it was closed for a year. So I was puzzled. So I didn't know all the steps I had to go through. So I kind of figured it out with the help of my wife and my daughter, and now I'm here, and I appreciate if y'all, help me out or whatever. And thank you.
Are there any callers we need to check on?
There are still some callers. Let me go through them one at a time. So callers, if you want to testify in this case, please speak after you hear the 2 beeps. All right, that's all the callers.
What did planning have to say?
They didn't object to the.
No objection.
No objections. All right. Is that correct,
Planning
Mr.
had no objection to this application.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right, that'll conclude 2020-202. Moving on to the next matter. Case number 2020-203, 5711 through 5721 O'Donnell Street. Rafael Jeffers de la Paz. This is a request to use the portion known as 5721 O'Donnell Street as a barber/beauty shop. We'll hear from staff and planning.
Nothing from staff.
Planning Department has reviewed this application and has no objection to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Okay, I see. Do we have Mr. Jeffers?
Yes, he is unmuted.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, my name is Rafael Jeffers. No,
Okay.
not talking English. I have somebody he talking for me.
Okay, very well.
Hello, yes. My name is W. Hernandez. I'm today here with Mr. Heffer's assisting him in the hearing.
All right. If you could just tell us about his project, including the days of operation and the proposed hours of operation of the barber beauty shop.
Okay, so Mr. Heffers wants to put a barbershop here on O'Donnell Street since the area doesn't have a barbershop currently. All the barbershops on Eastern Avenue, so it would be a great fit here for the community. So we got a lot of apartment people that live on Anglisa Street. The hours of operation would be Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then Sundays from
De 10 a 5 de la tarde.
Sundays will be from 10 to 5 p.m. on.
Okay. Okay. Anything from the board?
No questions.
Nothing for me.
Very well.
All right. Call
thank you.
answers. Sorry. All right. You'll hear 2 beeps. Sure. Okay, that's everyone.
Great. Okay, I think I don't think we even need to go back to conclude 2020-203. Moving on to 2020-204, 1527 Jackson Street. Calling is Christian Clifton, and this is a request to construct the rear deck. We'll hear from staff and planning, please.
Nothing from staff.
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French.
All right, let's see if I can find them.
All right.
All right, Mr. Clifton, you are unmuted.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, so it's just small. It's basically a landing and steps. Looks like it's part of the original structure. The yard is actually the smallest on the lot, so it's a skewed yard. The shortest point goes 6.5 out to 8.5. So we're just trying to reverse it where currently the steps lead down to the narrow side. It doesn't get many use of the yard, so he'd like to have possibly a chair on the rear deck and then storage for a trash can. So just with the current codes, we have to go through the variance. So it's just basically a large landing and steps leading down.
Okay. I have no questions. I don't know if the board does.
Nope. No questions.
None for me.
All right, go through the callers.
There should be one from there.
Okay, that's everyone.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clifton, for your presentation. Moving on to the next matter, 2020-206, 1201 North Caroline Street. Fatuma Aiden, and this is a request to construct a raised open rear deck.
Nothing from staff.
Planning Department has no comment on this application. Thank you.
All righty.
All right. I see Miss Aiden in here, but there's no symbol of how she's logged in, and it won't let me mute her, or won't let me unmute or make her a panelist. Fatuma Aiden, if you can hear me, can you hang up and call back or re-sign in? It does sound like Okay, sorry. We have the husband here as well. Mr. Bennett?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. My wife may be having a little bit of a technical challenge with her computer. I'm trying to help her work the computer. So I'm also participating in the meeting just to make sure that the information gets communicated across. She does have, we do have some pictures to show of the property and why we were asking for this particular item, specifically because of the high traffic, the cars that have hit the side of the house, and are concerned that children could be outside, out back, playing in the backyard and could get hit potentially by a car. And if it's okay for me to share my screen, I could actually show those pictures while my wife is trying to connect in. She's on her laptop trying to connect also. She's working in one place, I'm working in another. So we're trying to get it together.
All right, I'm making you a presenter now.
Okay, and once again, my wife is joined to the WebEx, but she may be not sure how to unclick her mic. I was walking her through it earlier, but
No problem. Go ahead.
so apologies. So thank you, Mr. Chair. So the front of the property, as you see here, we remodeled the property and we're finishing up the last phases, and a car crashed into the front of the house. So that's one. So Biddle Street is a very high traffic street. And then in addition, you can see in the back, the car went slamming into the side of the house, and we had to repair the bricks on the rear side of the property. And these are just a couple challenges we've gone through in the last year or two. And as you can see, what we're asking for the raised deck is this area right here. You can see the backyard from Google Maps. The stairs essentially will come up here, and the deck will be just underneath the window. As you can see, it's not a very large yard. We just want to put the deck here so that if a car does come across, and you can see Builder Street's right here, when the cars come flying down, they come flying down the street every single day. They're trying to get to some of the main roads. They bypass. This is like a bypass street where they cut through the city, and they come flying down these roads, speeding all of the time. So we just wanted to put the deck just underneath the window and the length of the yard, so that the kids have a little bit of space to play for. We got 3 girls, and they're all young girls, all under 12 years old. And it just gives them room to play out back without the concerns of a car come flying across and slamming into one of the kids and killing one of us while we're sitting outside. And as you can see from the damage from the back. So that's all we're asking. We're not asking for anything more than just bring the deck up here and the length of the yard so that they can play in the backyard. It's not a huge yard. It's just so that they can play outside and you don't scared to death of somebody getting hit by a car.
Okay, I understand. Any questions from the board?
No.
All right.
No questions.
Okay.
None from me.
Ready?
None from me.
I'll check callers, if any. I suspect there would be.
And just so the board is also aware, I did put a huge sign right in the front so that you can see it from anywhere on the street, across the street, down the street. So I wanted to make sure if anybody had any concerns, they could say anything. But we prominently post the sign.
Sure. Appreciate that. I think, are we good on this, Mr. Du? You're muted. No. Are we waiting on something? Are we checking callers? Mr. Du? Are you guys hearing me?
I can hear you.
I hear you.
Yes, I can hear you, Mr.
What
Chairman.
we're doing.
I think Miss Sadoo is frozen or got kicked off.
I just want to be sure we don't. I don't think.
Please excuse our technical difficulties for 1 minute.
Hey, listen, you see, my wife had free technical support here.
Absolutely. We appreciate that. It came across very clearly. Thank you.
The pictures are very helpful, though. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you.
Yeah, we've lost our host temporarily.
Can we take the pictures down and maybe see if she's there?
Sure. Let me see if I can click on stop.
Sorry, everyone, my computer froze.
There you go. Thank you.
All right, welcome back.
What I miss?
Well, I just wanted to confirm we didn't have any callers to go through.
Okay.
We do.
Yes, we go through that. No callers.
Okay, great. Thank you. Don't look like we have any additional questions. I want to thank you for the presentation and good luck with the future technical issues. I think you guys will be fine. Thank you for your presentation, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next matter on the docket, case number 2020-208, 901 Bennett Place, Precious, Ogana. This is a request to use a portion of the ground floor as office wholesale for a wholesale auto dealer tag and title service. Ask for any staff and planning reports, please.
Yes, there are several letters of opposition. And I'll just read them in order. Okay, here we go. The first one states, the businesses located at 901 Bennett Place continue to be not only a nuisance, but also a hotspot for crime, murder, and horror for the Heritage Crossing community. We object to the request for a licensing as a title and tag company. The requester at this moment has numerous cars outside of the property on the streets of Fremont, Bennett Place, and George Street without tags. One of our community members was in the store when a man walked in and killed another person in the store. It needs to be closed down for good. Next says, attached are pictures of automobiles that have lined up on Fremont and Bennett Place taking parking spaces from legitimate residents. For the boards, this person I think is here to testify, but it's pictures of cars parked on the street. It states these automobiles that he has parked on this street do not have tags. He's already shown he's incapable of following rules and protocol and being a good neighbor or business partner. Community members have called 911 and reported seven vehicles parked on the street without tags. Sorry, those were both from members of the community. This next one is from Harlem Park Neighborhood Council, which states this building is on a small residential street in Harlem Park and the block is not zoned for this kind of commercial use. The building is being used as multi-businesses per the signs on the front and on the side of North Fremont. We are looking at the influx of traffic to this block, which will occur if this business is allowed. There will be a major problem with residents parking where they live and the trash that will come with the traffic. We are looking for owner-occupied buildings where the landlord's on the premises and will help maintain the property as well as their tenants' trash and be an asset to the community. The next letter in opposition states, my name is Bree Jones and I'm the founder and executive director of Parity Homes, a nonprofit affordable housing and community revitalization development company. Right now, a coalition of a dozen Harlem Park organizations, congregations, and community leaders are working on a city-sponsored master plan process to map out the future for Harlem Park according to the businesses and amenities community members want to see. I'm deeply concerned about the potential environmental impact of hosting a business that deals with car wholesaling. This business will create increased amounts of traffic of wholesalers and customers traveling to the location to pick up tags and make car transfers. I'm concerned that idling cars outside of the office will release harmful particulates and gases into the air, burdening a community that has disproportionate asthma rates. We also know that oil spills and chemical pollutants endemic of car dealerships and other land uses related to cars cause serious issues regarding soil contaminants. Another issue with the high traffic nature of this use is the impact on traffic, parking, and noise pollution. Do we know how many staff will work from this office and whether the current number of parking spaces is sufficient in terms of absorbing the increased car and parking load that the conditional use will create? This next letter is from, oh, sorry, that's the same person. The next states, I'm a resident in Heritage Crossing and business owner in Upton. As the founder of Fight Blight Be More, a social, environmental, and economic justice initiative aimed at remediating blight led by the village and informed by data, this proposed conditional use is not in alignment with the needs and wants of the community. The owner and applicant has not presented the proposed use to any of the neighborhood associations in Harlem Park. This business will surely create increased amounts of traffic, and they've actually echoed the same concerns about asthma rates and pollution and oil spills. And those are the letters.
Okay. Planning Department reviewed this application, noted this property is in the Harlem Park 2 Urban Renewal Plan area. However, that urban renewal plan does not prohibit or restrict the proposed use at this location. The specific description of the office use does refer to wholesale auto dealership tag and titling service. There is not an explanation of exactly how physically that occurs and whether the vehicles are required to be at that same location in order for the tag and titling service to be performed. And obviously, the department believes this should be something expounded upon by the applicant. The property does appear to meet the standards for a neighborhood commercial establishment office use, and therefore the department has no objection to the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frank.
All right, Ms. Ogana, you are unmuted.
Thank you very much.
Okay, can you tell us about this project and respond, if you can, also to the commentary that we heard in the letters regarding the multiple vehicles that are situated on your property and how you intend to run this business?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Precious Ogana. Technically, it's a wholesale dealership. It's not a retail dealership. Basically, what I do, I'm the only staff. From one of the questions, someone talked about how many staffs is going to be there. It's a one-man business. I got an LLC, so it's just me operating from the office. For the tag and title does not create too much traffic like they talked about. It's just by appointment only. Also, I've done since I got into the neighborhood, around that vicinity, around the same place I'm to be using for the tag and title and stuff. A lot of the people in the area, they dump refuse around it, the vicinity. So I personally pay someone regularly to make sure everything is clean. The cars they are talking about, those cars are not mine, and the cars belong to someone else that normally comes to park some of it there, which someone told me about, and then that has been cleared. No cars will be parked there. Wholesale dealerships don't sell cars from to retail buyers. That is not a storage facility. I got a storage facility to store cars. It's at Supply Avenue, 711 Supply Avenue. You know, is a car storage facility that is fenced. That is if I need to keep cars, and is approved for that. But for this building, all I do there is all I will be doing there is paperwork and stuff from inside the office, and the tag and title is by appointment only. And you know, to register a car, people don't need to bring the car or park a lot of car down there to get the car registered, because you can't drive a car that is not registered. You know, you need to bring your title and get the car registered before you're able to drive it. So majority of the time, 90% of the time, people come with their title, like they come with the title, get the car, reassigned, and stuff, and then they take it back to them, and that's by appointment only. So there's really no much communication that is going to distort what is there. Instead, it has caused an improvement, because the building itself, I personally did a lot of cleaning around the environment, which the whole area has been dumping refuse around there. I paid and did. If you get there now, you see how beautiful it is. I painted it all over again by myself, real clean and nice. That's all for now, sir.
Okay. What are your proposed hours of operation, sir? You're breaking up.
To 5 p.m.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
From 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
I heard 10 to 5.
Yeah,
Okay.
10 to 5. Yeah.
How many days a week?
6 days a week.
Are there any other businesses being run out of that building at this time?
Yes, at the left-hand side there is a retail store being run on that building, neighborhood retail store.
What kind of store?
Grocery. They sell is retail. They got grocery. They got ATM machine in there, and they do lottery.
Do you own that store?
No, sir.
Do you own the building?
No, sir.
I'm confused because it's to have a ground floor wholesale, ground floor for the tag and title. I'm looking at a picture of this building and it's three floors. So are you going to be on the ground floor or on a different floor in that building?
On the ground floor.
And the grocery store is on the ground floor too?
The grocery store, there is a staircase. We got two section on the ground floor. If you see, there is a staircase demarcating the grocery store from the ground floor on the left. So the grocery store is on the right, facing with entrance from Bennett's place. The other ground floor is on the left. It links both North Fremont Avenue and towards Bennett's place.
If you do a Google image, you can see all the doors. It's a long building. I got it. Yeah.
So, sir, are you presently renting a space?
Sir.
Excuse me?
Yes, sir.
You're renting a space?
Yes, sir.
And what is in that space right now?
Nothing is in the space right now. I just make it look good, and so, but there's nothing in the space.
Who's the property owner?
Mr. Christopher Akpala. And Mr. Christopher, I rented the place from Mr. Christopher, and he's a relative also. He owns the grocery store.
Okay.
If anybody wanted to testify in this case, please raise your virtual hand or send me a message using the chat feature. In the meantime, I'm going to go through the call-in users. Okay, we have a Janet Allen who wishes to testify. Ms. Allen, you are unmuted.
Hello, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak on behalf of the Heritage Crossing community. If you would allow me to share my screen, I can show you how this particular business has interrupted like the living situation and taken for granted the people that live in this community, their needs, their wants. And this has been going on from 901 Bennett Place for the past 18 years. If you are even to check, they probably have 901 Bennett Place has a host of code enforcement violations. We've had probably about 5 murders right around in front of that building. It stays open to 12 midnight every day, Monday through Friday. It was 24 hours a day. We have put in a request at one point with the state's attorney to have the building closed as a nuisance property as well. And so the 901 Bennett Place has not been a good neighbor. It's been a poor neighbor. The Western District had police cars that was out there daily because of all of the drug trafficking on and around that particular business, going in and out the business. People from our community have gone inside the place, and while they were purchasing, they've seen drug transactions, they've seen someone killed. I mean, it is just a horror. And to add to that horror, this particular person who states that he has not, but our residents have testified that these cars do belong to him, and they just so coincidentally showed up when he put in the request to be permitted. I have pictures about the community, about this, and so I would like to show you guys the pictures.
Sorry, so I've made you a presenter. You can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, and so if you are, this is one of the pictures. If you look,
You don't see anything.
Sorry, we don't see them.
Oh, well, am I not doing it right? Okay.
Yeah, so if you go to the top of your screen, it says share. So that's where you go to share them.
That's what I did. I hit share, and then I hit photos.
Okay, now it's working.
Okay. And so these are some of the cars that were parked there. It's 3 pictures that are, this is, let me close that out. It's 3 pictures that I have. See if it shows me all, I can show all the photos. Well, anyway, it's like 7 cars. It is daily a whole lot of cars that are placed in front of that particular store. The residents have testified that the person that is opening in this states, oh, we're going to work this out with the community or whatever. He doesn't keep the community clean. We have a trash, a cleanup service that comes out and cleans our community. If you ever go into the Heritage Crossing community, you'll notice that our grass is always kept clean, always kept cut really good, and our community is clean. We have one of the cleanest, greenest communities in Baltimore City. We do border Harlem Park right across the street from us, which is where the store is at. And again, it's not a proper facility for a business to be in. Or for a tag and title place to be in. We've just had too much bad experience in the past with that particular address, 901 Bennett Place. It's a nuisance address. Right now, even during COVID-19, they had a 411 call went in because they were serving people that was in the store, lots of people in the store without even a mask on their face. And so it's not a good business. It is not a good business partner. And we are working together with Harlem Park to undo a lot of the structural racism that's been going on in our community, whereas people think that they can use our community as a dumping ground to open up illicit businesses, illegal businesses, and trade illegal substances in those businesses. And in our community, we don't want that. We're trying to build a strong community. We're trying to build a home ownership community, and we're trying to right the wrongs that has been going on in our community because of redlining and all this other junk that's going on.
And we're going far afield here. We have a question pending.
What did you say, sir?
If I could just focus you though, ma'am, I hear everything that you're saying, but it sounds like the issues that you are having at this point are primarily with the actual, the retail store that is there. Is that correct?
It's the retail store is what we initially had the problem with. But we also have a problem with this business opening up. Miss Nidu, we also sent you pictures. That's correct. 7 pictures of the cards that was out there.
Yeah, they match the ones that you showed.
And so, we're having problems with them that he is taking up all the parking spaces. And if in fact, 901 Bennett Place, we did have problems, and we believe that he will still perpetuate the same type of business that he is now.
But Miss Allen, you keep saying that he'll perpetuate the same type of business that he is now, but the gentleman who's asking for the tag and title is not in business at this moment, right? So it sounds like your issues are with the retail store and whichever other businesses used to be there, not necessarily this tag and title store. Tag and title operator.
Go ahead.
Sure.
We believe that those cars out there are from him. They are cars. They are being left on Fremont Street without any tags on them on a public street, and we believe that those cars and our residents who brought this complaint over to the Heritage Crossing Board of Directors state that the person that identified themselves as starting a tag and title business stated that those were his cars. They marked off spaces on the Fremont Avenue so that nobody else can park there, and so that cars without tags or could be on the street.
Okay.
And took up parking spaces for everyone else. And so people have identified the person that is opening up that business as the person who had possession of those cars that were parking those cars on a daily basis on Fremont Avenue and on Bennett Place and on George Street.
Okay, thank you.
Can I respond, please?
Yeah, sir. Could you tell us how long do you occupy the space presently, whether you're operating the business or not?
I own the space. Yeah, I rented the space presently. Yeah, I rented the space. So I thought, oh, I own the place. Let's say I own the place presently. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Who are we speaking?
Up
Is this
to,
Mr. Ogana?
let me say more than a year. Yeah, this is Mr. Ghana.
Now, what are you're saying? You own the place. I thought you were renting the space from the owner.
Yeah. Yes, like I rented the space. So the space is has been in my possession. Like I own it. Like I rented it for a while now.
How long?
Response to some of the words she said about going to 2 years or so.
For how long?
What?
You've rented the space
About
for 3 years?
About 2 years. No, about 2 years.
Have you been?
Go ahead, Michelle.
I think we're going to ask the same question. Have you been running the business? Have you been running this tag and title business for the past 2 years, sir?
No.
So
you
what?
can't run a business without being approved by the MVA. No.
Have you been running any business out of that location?
That is currently being run from that old building is the retail shop, and I've got to add.
No, sir. Hold on, because I'm trying to get some clarification here. The space that you've been renting for the past 2 to 3 years, have you been running any business out of that space?
No, ma'am.
So you've just been renting an empty space for 2 to 3 years. Is that what you're saying, sir?
Okay. Yes. What I'm trying to add. The belongs to Mr. Krisapala, who is a relative. So he gave me that space and gave me a time I'm gonna start paying him when I want to start using it. So technically, he leased it to me, he gave it to me, and told me that when I want to start using it, when I want to start doing the tag and title business when I'm ready, then told me the amount I'll be paying him. So he is a relative, he's a Nigerian, and that's why I said I wanted to add what I'm about to say. The person that just spoke made a statement. He said they are trying to build a better community to prevent racism.
Mr. Ghana,
hold on, sir.
I have a couple questions before you address her issue. The first is you say he's a you say that the person that's leasing you the space, Chris Akpala, is one of your relatives, correct?
Yeah, he's a relative.
Okay. Now my second question is, if you've been in the space for 2 to 3 years, but you have not been operating the tag and title business, this is not a long answer, very short answer. I want to know what if anything have you been doing in that space, and how often do you go there? Do you live there? Is it a place?
Nothing technically. Innovations on the place, and every now and then I'm in there. I go there, I read in there, So I help him out at times, when he needs to paint the top floor, I spend the night there so I can help him fix the top floor because I'm pretty handy. I can paint and all those kind of stuff. So whenever I want to walk there, I sleep over at that spot so I can do all those work for him. So I do a whole lot of work for him too, like painting the building. If you check the building right now, the building has been painted. I painted it myself from top to down. I'm handy with all of this stuff.
Do you ever work in the grocery store that's back there?
No, don't work for him in the grocery shop, no.
Other than the apartment that you sleep in, what else is on above the first floor is the space that you have in the grocery store. What's on the other 2 floors?
The second floor, we got a resident living there. And the third floor, we also got a resident living there. us in those second floor and third floor. So whenever the residents, they got issues and so that need easy fixing, I help them fix it when I'm around there. So at times I spend the night there, and that's what it has been for a while. So can I add something to respond to what she said?
That's partial. It's a partial response. If the individual, the relative who owns the place and who has been renting to you, he's out of the country. Is that correct? Is he here in the States?
He's in the country now.
Pardon me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. What?
Yes, sir.
Where's the owner?
He's in Baltimore.
Okay. Do we have anybody else who's going to be calling in about this?
Nope. That was all the call-in users, and no one else has indicated they want to testify.
Is it possible to add what I wanted to add, please?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. The day I erected the sign for the zoning zoning appeal, someone walked up to me in the neighborhood and told me that first and foremost they don't like, because if you can listen, I got an accent. I'm in Nigeria. I hailed from Nigeria, so I got an accent. And the owner of the building is also a Nigerian. And the person told me specifically, he said they don't like Nigerians. That was his statement. You know why I said this? I'm saying this because of the statement the person that just called made. He said they are trying to develop the community and they don't want some certain people in the community. They want to eradicate racism from the community. So technically, checking that out, because immediately I erected the sign, she walked up to me, a lady, and told me that she does not like the man that got the grocery store, because the man that got the grocery store is a Nigerian. He does not like us Nigerians. And secondly, building a community without crime, because I remember she talked a lot about incident that happened in the community, about people being shot 18 years ago. You know, a lot of things have happened in the community. Now, building a community without crime does not involve shutting the community down and not allowing things to happen in the community, and not allowing improvements to take place in the community. You know, I just erected cameras all over the building. Cameras facing North Fremont, cameras facing Bennett Place. I just paid someone to do someone to in the community every day. See, and
all right, so you're breaking up here. We can't hear
take
you.
their refuse and put. Oh, sorry about that. This is I'm in support of the community. I want the betterment of the community. If I can erect cameras all over facing North Fremont, facing Bennett Place, it means I'm also but there was crime in that area 18 years ago, or people got shot around that area some years ago. I really think that's not a way to improve a community. Thank you, sir.
Everybody get that?
No, I didn't understand it.
Are there any more questions from the board?
I got most of it.
Okay. Any additional questions from the board at this point?
No.
No.
Can I respond to what he said?
No, ma'am.
He accused me of being racist, and I wanted to respond to that.
The appellant gets the last word. That's it. Thank you. Okay. Are we done with this matter?
If you are, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, if there are no other callers, I don't have hands raised. Let's wrap that one up. Okay, moving on. Case number 2020-210, 2844 Hudson Avenue. Caroline Hecker to construct a second floor deck to use for restaurant outdoor dining. I hear from staff and planning.
All right, we have several letters in support. First is, my name is Greg Rogers, a 20-year resident of Baltimore City. My wife and I live in Canton. Daughter is a few houses away from the establishment. We're very impressed by the level of care taken to ensure a safe environment. We believe this addition will only enhance their ability to continue to create a thriving business in our neighborhood. The next states, I'm writing as a homeowner in the Highlandtown neighborhood of Baltimore City. I'm in full support and looking forward to enjoying it this coming spring/summer. The next states, I'm aware of the hearing on the 15th, and as an employee, I'm in full support of the expansion. The next states, I've lived in the Canton neighborhood for 5+ years now. I felt it was important to reach out and let you know I'm in full support of the deck expansion. Lee's is my favorite gathering place. The restaurant is Lee's Pint and Shell, by the way. Lee's is my favorite gathering place as the servers, bartenders, and owner are always very welcoming. The prices are right and the food is phenomenal. I think now more than ever, bars and restaurants need outdoor space, so I don't see what harm this would do. The next writes, I'm writing as a homeowner in Highlandtown neighborhood. I'm aware of the hearing regarding the deck expansion to Lee's Pint and Shell restaurant. I'm in full support and looking forward to enjoying it this spring and summer. And actually 3 of the letters say that verbatim, so there's 3 of those. And then the next one says, the last one says, I lived in Canton for 20 years and now 10+ in Fells Point. I love the city and used to own Bay Cafe. I was at that location for 25 years. Lee's is a good neighborhood restaurant that goes out of their way to create a good atmosphere with reasonable prices. I go there all the time and always feel welcome. The place is always clean inside and out. I wish they were on my corner in Fells Point. One thing for sure, when you have a space that has outdoor eating, you can be sure that when you park your car, you'll be safe to walk to your house. Lee's is a great neighbor and the perfect restaurant that does all its business during the day. They are not a late night business, and I support the expansion of their second floor.
Okay. Mr. French?
Okay, by way of background, the planning department notes this property is zoned R8. It was previously zoned B2. At that time, a tavern was a conditional use or permitted use in the B2 zoning district. It is now a non-conforming use in the R8 zoning district. And therefore, because non-conforming uses are not allowed to expand, it's important that the applicant stress to the board that this will be a restaurant and not tavern use, although the city's records appear to show that tavern is the principal use of the property. The proposed outdoor dining facility should be constructed in accordance with plans and designs approved by the Department of Planning. And the applicant should work with the Land Use and Urban Design Division of this department to complete the design review of the proposed second floor level outdoor dining area and related construction. There was a previous approval for outdoor dining, 179-09, and the department's encouraging the board to continue certain conditions of approval that were contained in approval at that time. Specifically, there will be no outdoor bar, no outdoor music, jukebox, or other form of entertainment, and all patrons must be seated for dining and served by wait staff. And the proposed additional outdoor dining area will be constructed, completed, and maintained in accordance with plans to be approved by the Department of Planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Ms. Hecker?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin Greenberg on behalf of the applicant. We have from our team with us my co-counsel, Kevin Pascal, and Dave Carey, who's the operator, the owner and operator of the restaurant. With your permission, I'll proffer the testimony. We can answer any questions that you might have. And if Ms. Nadeau can allow me to share my screen, I can pull up some exhibits that we have for you today.
Very well. Go ahead.
Yep. 1 second. Okay, you have control.
Excellent. All right. Let's see if I can figure out. There we go. Share my screen. Okay. Can you see what I've got up on the screen here?
Yep.
Okay. All right, great. So this is an application to approve an extension of the outdoor seating at Lee's Pint and Shell restaurant on a second floor balcony that will be located on both the Hudson Street and Linwood Avenue sides of the building. The property is located in the R8 zoning district, and the current use as a restaurant is classified as a neighborhood commercial establishment under the current zoning code. It's not a tavern, it is a restaurant, and it is a restaurant in the R8 district is categorized as a neighborhood commercial establishment, which is a conditional use. Outdoor dining is allowable as a conditional use for a neighborhood commercial establishment under the zoning code. It's section 14328G. The subject property is located at the intersection of Hudson Street and Linwood Avenue, as you can see here in the aerial image. It's been a restaurant for many years. It used to be a non-conforming use under the old zoning code. The current owner, Mr. Carey, acquired the property in 2005. He gutted it at that time and opened a restaurant called Sauté in 2008, which operated there until 2016. In 2017, Mr. Carey renovated the space into a new, more casual restaurant concept, which reopened as Lee's Pint and Shell. And here, let me scroll down. I've got this pop up on my screen here. You can see some images of the current condition of the restaurant here at the intersection. And as Mr. French mentioned, the outdoor dining was approved when it was Sauté back in 2009, and then in 2017, the zoning board approved the expansion of the non-conforming use to the second floor, and I have included a copy of the board's decision here in the file here, approving the expansion of the non-conforming restaurant to the second. Lee's has been tremendously successful, and you've heard some of that from the letters of support that Ms. Nadeau read into the file a minute ago. It has offered, as I said, ground floor outdoor seating since 2009, but outdoor seating, as we've all seen, has become critically important to the survival of the restaurant industry during the COVID-19 pandemic, and expanding the outdoor seating area here will help ensure the viability of the restaurant. We're proposing to construct a second floor balcony that will wrap the corner of the building in order to expand the outdoor seating capacity. What I have up on the screen here is the existing conditions and demolition plan. The existing awnings that cover the outdoor seating area in these areas will be demolished. And we're proposing to construct a balcony that will be just under 800 square feet. The site plan is also up on the screen here. And I sent all of these exhibits to Ms. Nadeau earlier today, so they should be in the board's file. What you'll see here, and I realize it's probably a little small, I can try to zoom in a little bit. There is a clear cartway for pedestrians all the way around, maintaining a clear sidewalk width. It's 7 feet 3 inches on the Hudson Street side. It's shown as 5 feet clear sidewalk width here on the Linwood Avenue side. You will see we have agreed with the community, among other things, that we will maintain a 6 foot sidewalk width, so that will be modified. The balcony will be enclosed with a glass railing that will, I'm scrolling down to the elevations here. Oops, sorry. And there'll be a staircase coming down on Linwood Avenue to provide additional egress to the site. The preliminary seating plan we've also submitted, which I'm pulling up here. You'll see it does show 52 seats. This was a preliminary concept. We have agreed with the community that we'll have no more than 50 seats, but the ultimate capacity will be determined by the fire marshal. And we are planning to maintain the ground floor seating located beneath the balcony. We've worked extensively with the Canton Community Association to present a plan that is respectful of the surrounding community. And we've agreed with the Canton Community Association on an MOU that outlines the terms of the operation of the restaurant. And I believe Doug Kaufman from the Canton Community Association is on the phone here, the hearing today. Some highlights of the MOU are that the seating capacity will be limited to 50 seats. The balcony will be used only for dining, and customers seated on the balcony must be there to enjoy a meal, not just to be drinking. The outdoor seating area will close by 10 o'clock p.m. and be fully cleared out at that time. We were not going to permit any amplified sound outdoors, and restaurant deliveries will not occur before 7 o'clock in the morning. The restaurant has agreed to enter into separate agreements regarding special events that they host periodically during the year to minimize any disruption to the neighbors related to those events. And we've also provided contact information for the managers and the restaurant owner to the Canton Community Association so that they have a point of contact in the event that future issues arise. And we've agreed to attend regular Canton Community Association meetings going forward. You've heard letters of support. There's a number of letters of support in the file. There's also a petition in support that I've submitted to the board that's been signed by 155 people who are customers and residents of Canton. Most of them are residents of Canton from the surrounding neighborhoods. And I did submit a package to the board that outlines the factors that the board's required to consider in approving a conditional use. I would note, I can go through them one at a time if you'd like, but broadly, the general standard for approving a conditional use is that the inherent adverse effects of the use are not somehow worse at this location than they otherwise would be. Here, particularly with the MOU that outlines the terms of the operation of the restaurant, the inherent adverse effects of the outdoor seating certainly are not going to be any worse than they would otherwise be expected to be at this location. And we've worked really hard to come up with a plan that the community is happy with. So for all of these reasons, we'd ask that the board approve the extension of the outdoor seating to the balcony. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I believe Mr. Carey is on the phone and my co-counsel, Mr. Pascal, is on the phone, and Dr. Kaufman from the CCA is also with us as well.
I have made Doug Kaufman a panelist if the board would like to hear from him, but I can also elevate those other people if you would like to hear from them as well.
I wouldn't mind speaking if that's okay as well.
Go ahead.
Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you. I just want to say that I think this process has worked out very well from the community's perspective. Just how I think essentially designed is that the operator and the applicant will work with the community to find terms that everyone can be really happy with moving forward. I think, as Caroline said, there is 150 people on the petition that support this and several other people who wrote letters, including the adjacent residents. Separately from that, through the publication of the notices, the Canton Community Association was approached by approximately 15 residents who live on Linwood and Hudson Street to just say that they had some issues with the restaurant, and the Canton Community Association was able to get an understanding of their concerns and considerations. They were very reasonable. We reached out to the restaurateur to talk with them about those issues, and we were able to have a very productive dialogue addressing all of those issues from all of the neighbors who had some issues over the past years. And it's been a really good working relationship. And I don't know if Mr. Carey or the proprietors would necessarily say this publicly, but I think there was one or two things that were maybe happening on site that they weren't fully aware of. And this process has brought some things to light that allows them to make some changes to their operational structure that I think they're going to be happy with as well. And so I think the pressure from the BMZA to work with the community and the operators has, I think, had a really nice effect for everybody being really pleased with the outgrowth. Lee's is obviously a very popular location within Canton, and we're excited that they're coming out with this balcony, and it's certainly going to set a precedent to a certain degree within the neighborhood for other corner restaurants that may want to do something similar. So we really like the design of the balcony that they've put together, and we're very pleased that they wanted to work with us to maintain that 6-foot clear path for pedestrians. Canton has more and more people walking, more and more strollers in the neighborhood every day. And so getting that 6 feet pathway, even though it may make some construction changes for them and incremental cost, was very important to us. And they were willing to work with us on that process. And so we just want to say thank you to the operators for working with us, and thank you to the neighbors who reached out to us to vocalize and some of the issues that they had. And at this point, I think the general feeling of those people who, say a month ago were very concerned And flash forward to today, I think they're all really excited about what's coming forward to that corner of Linwood and Hudson Street.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go through the call-in users. All right, that's all the call-in users, unless the board wants to hear from the other people that Ms. Hecker mentioned. Or she knows they want to testify.
I'm good. Unless they have something that they definitely want to put on the record, I think I'm satisfied with the presentation thus far. I'll have the board weigh in.
I'm good.
Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Ms. Hecker, I'll give it back to you for any final words.
I have nothing further to add if you don't have questions for us, but thank you for your consideration this afternoon, and we hope that you'll approve the balcony extension.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kaufman. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We'll conclude matter number 2020-210, and the final doc, we may have to go back to one. But we'll move to case number 2020-212, 1019 West Landale Street, Uchenna Wukori. This is a request to use the premises as 3 dwelling units. We'll hear from staff and planning.
Okay, sorry. We have a letter in opposition from the Harlem Park Neighborhood Council. It states the Harlem Park Neighborhood Council is not in support of 3 dwelling units at 1019 West Landale Street. The proposal of 3 in this building cannot be supported since it's stated in the notice of appeal. The property was 2 units previously, and let it be noted that it's been a HUD house since 1982, and beyond that, vacant since 2005. We can only support 2 dwelling units in this building for the safety of the occupants and the quality of life that is very important, such as trash and parking. Trash is an issue. Only 1 trash can is issued through the city of Baltimore, and the landlord does not check on the tenants and their habits, nor does the landlord supply another trash can. When it overflows, the trash is then out there next to the trash can in plastic bags until the next trash day, causing a rodent problem. There's also an issue of parking. There are at least 6 apartment buildings in this block that have 3 units already. Parking is already a problem because we have some buildings that have more than 1 vehicle, be it cars or trucks. We are looking for owner-occupied buildings where the landlord is on the premises and will help to maintain the property, as well as their tenants, trash, and be an asset to the community. And that's it from staff.
All right.
Planning Department reviewed this application. As you heard, this is located in the Harlem Park 2 urban renewal area. That urban renewal plan does not prohibit the proposed use of the building. The property has a sufficient lot area to allow the additional unit proposed. The issue about parking is, quite frankly, a matter that is not going to be soluble by the applicant, because what used to be Rice Street, which ran behind this property and gave access to its rear yard, was closed and made part of a mid-block park in accordance with what's called that urban renewal plan, and therefore there is a practical difficulty on the point of the applicant with providing an off-street parking space on this property, even though the property has a sufficient rear yard to provide the space if it was accessible. The department wishes to note that this property is in a designated historic district and encourages the applicant to apply for historic tax credits for restoration and renovation of the building. The department is recommending approval of the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. So we have the applicant online.
Yes, I'm here. How are you today?
Sir, tell us about your project, if you would.
Yeah, so I am looking to turn this 3-story home into 3 dwelling units. It's already a 3-story property. We are requesting, kind of like just mentioned, the variance just because there is adequate space in the rear, but due to Rice Street belonging to the park now, we cannot use that for parking. And just to everything else, I guess, checks out with what was said already. But just in reference to the community board, I think those are more so concerns, not so much allegations of myself. I did just acquire the property not too long ago. So just the things that they did mention, I guess those don't hold any weight against me per se. I have not decided whether or not I will be occupying one of the units just yet. And then as far as like what the landlord provides, the trash and all those things, I do take those as concerns they have for the neighborhood. But those are not a reflection of me personally, I would say. So I guess that's it for all I have. Oh, sorry. And just to add one bit, since I did have acquired the property, that and another property in the Harlem Park area, I am committed to kind of helping build up the community. That particular street up in West Landval, there is not a parking issue per se right now. There are quite a few vacant abandoned homes already on West Landval on that particular block, as well as 4 recently city demolished lots. So there isn't a parking issue right now. It may become that if those lots were to be built back up and all the properties were to be restored. But as of now, that is not the case.
Okay.
Anybody would like to testify, raise your virtual hand. In the meantime, I'm going to go through what's left of the call-in business. All right, I see no one else who wants to testify.
Do you have any questions from the board on this one?
I have one or 2 questions. How many units, are you putting through, Mr. Wakori?
You said how many units?
Yeah.
3.
Okay. I was just confused because what we have says that there's a unit 1 and a unit 2, and I couldn't find anything else.
Let me see.
It's going to be 1 on each floor, first, second, and third.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so yeah, that is an error in the staff report. It was 2, and it's going to be 3.
What's the last? It's the last 2 pages. It gives me a basement, a first floor, a second floor, and a third floor. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Okori. The basement and the first floor are 1 unit. Then the second floor is another unit. The third floor is the third unit.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's only because that first floor loses a lot of square footage due to the entranceway. So we were just figuring we'll give them the basement area.
Okay.
All right. Anything else at this point?
No questions.
No questions.
All right. We've checked callers, correct?
We have. There was one case where the person. Oh no, I don't know if I wrote down which one it was. Uh-oh. Hold on.
We're going to wrap up case number 212.
Yes, sorry.
All right, Mr. Wakari, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, we skip over the first one.
Yeah, it was like the first or second one, something like that.
It was the first one, I believe. Because I have. No, we heard that one.
We heard that 384. Well, 384 was postponed. But,
Was it 2020-50?
Oh, right. And that one was postponed. Sorry. Okay, we're good.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Somebody was late, but got in before.
That's what it was. We did find them. Okay, guys, I'm under caffeinated today. Sorry.
All right.
All right.
That concludes a regular docket.
May I trouble us for another very brief break?
Absolutely.
I'm not on my own time right now, guys.
What's the problem, Miss Johnson Turner?
It's days you all get to meet the problem, and you can take it.
All right, sure. But we come back and deal with Huntington.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to maybe do the docket first and then go back to Huntington, so people who are staying.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get those resolved, and then we'll come back and do that. So we'll break. Thanks.